and 1. We are recording. Okay. If I'm not mistaken, and to tell you the truth, I've kind of lost track, which is a good thing, because when you're having fun, you shouldn't have time to count everything. I think this is episode 25, if I'm not mistaken. I know Danny and I kind of did a go around with his character, Bastille, the rogue that's off adventuring and having fun without everyone right now. But I believe this is the official 25. So if any of us are drinking underneath the table and want something to celebrate, it's our 25th episode. So there you, and then all of a sudden they just come up out of nowhere. It's like I pushed a magic button. All right. So introductions. I, of course, as always, am Brian Kynes, the creator of the Tales of Ulran campaign setting, storyline, the world that we kind of play in, I created. And we use Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition rules to play through it and tell the story. And all these folks around here write it with me every episode that we play. And I got to learn how to do this because I'll point the opposite way and it will point to Jeremy. If I go like this, it's Jeremy Keaton up here at the top. He'll be playing the role of Mirk. Mirk is learning how to drive Brahmas better and better every day. Got to taste some beer the last episode, which was really, really cool. And we'll explore some more of that later on. Below Jeremy is Rachel. She'll be playing the role of Miasha, the tigress Sha-dae dancer. You won't find that if you're searching on the internet. We had to make it up and write it from scratch, but it's going pretty good. Beside her is going to be Rachel. Rachel will be, nope, it's not going to be Rachel. Rachel was one I just talked about. This one's going to be Heather. This is a Heather below me here. Thank you. There you go. I'm going to pay for that one later. I know it. She's a rules Nazi, Danny. It's going to get bad. I got her name wrong. It's going to be terrible. Heather will be playing the role of Sylowen, and she does it very, very well. She's been fun. She's been quirky. She either loves you or she hates you. She's either drunk or sober. It's a stop and go thing. It's almost like a teenager learning how to use the brakes in a car. It's really fun to watch how that goes. Over in this corner, if I'm doing this right, that'll be fantastic, is a living legend, Daniel McGuffey, or Danny for short, if you really like him. Danny has been in this for over 2 years now. Has been playing for a long time, has several different characters. And the one he'll be playing tonight, I believe, is Dayhon Mankado, which is a Polynesian warrior style fighter that draws upon his knowledge and spirit of totem animals to kick your ass when it needs to be kicked. Above him and to my other side is Kara, which is playing some of the over top, the old movie from the 80s and 90s, some arm wrestling going on, playing the paladin Tamyra, and had a really good go of it last time. That was rolled a 20 to win it. That was epic. That was really fun. So having said that, Danny has polymorphed himself into a chair. So we'll get back to him in just a little bit. I know sometimes I just cast spells randomly. It's crazy. So I'm trying to remember exactly where everybody was at and how this was all going down. It's been a week, of course. If I'm not mistaken, Rachel's character, Miasha, and Sha-dae, which is not with us today, he'll be back next week, we're sitting at the bar going over trust issues and coming out and clean in the open about how I need to help you, but I do want you to help me in return. This needs to be a give and take thing. And this is Miasha, if I'm not mistaken, she was making sure to convey to Sha-dae's character, or Sha-dae, that this is nothing typical of her. There's normally ways that she goes about getting what she wants. It's not that she lies right out, but truth is something that she doesn't usually wear on her sleeve very often. And if it takes this step to get us through the door, then she's willing to stick one of her toes in. Sha-dae was taking to this, riding a little bit of an ego wave because Sha-dae did a great job and beat her at that board game, the Rojord game. Yeah, Sean was just killing it on that dude. And I was trying to win for you, Rachel. Shit didn't happen. It just went bad, man. Brahmas can tell you all about how those bad rolls go.
Board games are overrated, man. It's all in the dancing. I don't
Right,
need board games.
That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say. So Sylowen was just moments away from taking this dwarf downtown, man. Just getting out of here and going and doing her thing. We had said that this was a dwarven hunter and a fisherman that had spears and lances on his back. And he resembled Josh Brolin, which I hope she knows who that is now. She didn't exactly the other night. And she has rolled amazing charisma rolls and done shit to this poor guy. And I can't wait to explore that space and see how horrible you break this man's heart. I mean, I hope he's not married. I don't know what's going on. You've done something to this guy. You had just won your match, Tamyra, and I remember this large lumbering person. Did we give him a name?
I don't think so. He was just like the stone man.
The stone man. Okay. Well, I'll come up with something here in just a little bit. Whatnot.
Oh, I think we said like The Rock because we were going to base him off of Dwayne Johnson.
Dwayne Johnson, dear God. Now, did we want to, moving forward, I know, big selection, big difference here. Did we want to go with Vin Diesel for him? Or did we want to go with Dwayne Johnson? Which one do you guys want to use for this character? Yes, Rachel.
I think Dwayne Johnson. I prefer him. That's my opinion.
Okay, right on. Okay. Jeremy, what are you thinking? You're shaking your head. Yeah, you thinking?
Yeah, I feel like he'd fit a little better.
Are you smelling what the Earth Genasi is cooking? Okay, Sylowen, what's your vote for?
Bald is beautiful. I'm in.
Right on, right on. So we're going with Dwayne Johnson. Okay. Dear God. I'll come up with the name here in just a little bit. You had let him walk away. You weren't going to insult him because he was respectful in his defeat. We need to roll and see how much money, Tamyra, you made off of that match. There would have been, between all the different things there and what the gnome was, let me turn that down. What the gnome had collected for you. Danny DeVito's character was named what? Zand? What'd you call him? Zand, okay. Zand had collected quite a bit too. Let me roll to see how he did and how well he was able to hype this. Oh, not bad at all. Okay. So let's say that gives you an extra this many. Okay. Nice. And let's say on the table in the betting, is everyone involved? Okay. Write this down. That is going to be, and I know you're going to be thinking, damn, that's a lot. But there was a lot of money around this table, and he got quite a good roll as far as getting people invested in trying to bet on this thing. You ended up with 39 small gold coins, and you ended up with 17 silver. That is good. I mean, you're not an NFL player by any means, but that is good for what transpired at the end of the last episode. So you've got that on you, okay? With that, let's see, Brahmas, where were you at during this? You had lost your match over there, and Sylowen was doing her thing. Do you have any recollection as to what you were getting into at that moment?
I myself was heading over to the either arm wrestling or bare-knuckle boxing, whichever one had the most commotion going on.
Okay. Well, we'll say it was, well, let's just do this. In a upset change of pace, this last character, guys, if you know one of a game you've had in the past you want to throw out real quick, I haven't had time to make his character a name. What do you think about a name for Dwayne, the literal Rock Johnson here, his character? What do you guys think? You got anything? Anything that sounds like half giant, half ogre, or something macho?
My mind went to Sylvester Stallone. Just could name him Sylvester. Or
Sylvester.
Stallone. Or
I've got-
Stallone. And
Stalin.
his nickname is Stallone the Stone.
This is what I get when I ask other people. Oh my goodness. Jeremy, did you have anything off the top of your head, sir?
I like hers a lot better. Mine was just going to be Brick.
Oh.
A bad basketball shot and an overage action star. Okay. All right. Daniel McGuffey, you got anything?
Well, he probably speaks another language. We wouldn't be able to understand it.
So that's a no. Okay. Heather, what do you think?
Steve.
Steve. Well, at least I know that the bar's not set very high. Okay. Rachel, you got anything interesting for this large
How
Earth
about
Genasi? It looks like Dwayne.
Apurite?
See, now that's got D&D flavor to it.
It's
I'm not
like
gonna say that
Wait,
I'm-
what, did you say up your butt? I could not hear
no,
that.
Apurite. It's a mineral.
Oh.
It's like a goldy brown color.
Goldie Brown.
Yeah,
that's gonna be
it's
his
spelled
nickname.
like I'll put it in the chat. Hang on.
Okay, so just spell that for me, please.
So it's ABHURITE.
Okay, I think I want to go with the basis of that. And this is actually based on a fantasy story that I heard once. I want to go with Albert. So it's Albert was actually close to the name of someone from the Baron von Munchausen stories. He was a really big, strong character from mythology. So Albert is what we will call him. Okay. And let me write that down. Okay. So as he's leaving that, and you've seen Tamyra take him down in what was a hell of a battle. Brahmas, this Albert walks past you close and stops when he gets beside you. And he looks over his right shoulder and he looks over to you and he looks you up and down. And he says, maybe you'd be a little bit more interested in what's going on up above the rest of this. And he looks deadly serious. And he says, there I can actually, shed my skin a little bit. You up for it?
What do you have in mind?
He just kind of chuckles, raises that eyebrow and says, follow me. And he starts walking off and he heads like he's going to that balcony up above that table. Okay. So if there's something you're thinking during this, Mirk, if you want to follow him, you just tell me what you're doing. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to follow.
I'll follow him. Okay. As those two start to head upstairs, you'd go beside the far bar on the right-hand side, and there's two staircases that leads to this U-shaped balcony. It's up above there. It's about 25 or 20 foot out into the bar, and at least 25 to 30 foot out over top of the side of the building, with two different big arched doorways going out into it. It's more of something used in the summertime or in the spring for people to go outside, but they have fires out there and fire pits and things on it now. I mean, this place got so crowded, they need to make more room. And as you go up and he goes around these stairs, and he's not even looking upstairs. He's kind of looking down. He's very gruff, this character. And as he's going up there, you see his skin start to go through a transformation where he is starting to become totally engulfed in what looks like this earthen, dark brown and black with golden specks in it, kind of granite-like skin. Okay. And when he walks up the steps going that direction, at first he was walking on the steps, but as he starts the transformation, Brahmas, the steps start to give more and more way, and they creak louder and louder as he heads up there. As he turns on the first flight and begins to turn sideways, you can actually see that a dark golden glow has started to come about his eyes as he has a very intense look to him. Do you have any reaction to this?
I'm gonna study him, but I'm not gonna be saying anything outright quite yet.
Okay. Okay. As he begins to walk up to the top. Okay. At that moment, someone comes flying over the banister. Okay. As we are headed up that direction, you hear a and the guy just goes over. It's like the old westerns when the banister breaks and the cowboy just comes flying out of there and shit like that. And as it does, you see it's a half ogre. And as he does, he comes down, does a half somersault, and lands on a table of a bunch of dwarves drinking down below. As he crashes on the table, it draws alarm in you, Brahmas, but it's funny, the dwarves' reaction to this. As he turns around and lands and crashes on that table, which breaks into 100 pieces, underneath of him, there's like 3 dwarves sitting there holding their drink like this with no table now. And the one of them takes it and starts pouring on the guy's head. Would you look at that mess? And starts pouring beer on him as he's laying there in the middle trying to give. They kick him in the ass. They're not roused by that at all. They think it's funny. This is the kind of roughhouse Big Brother bullshit that you could only imagine dwarves doing. That's the situation. You see several different faces looking over the railing as you hear the oohs and ahs from up top. With that, let's go ahead and talk to Sylowen. Sylowen, as you were talking to this other person, do you remember what his name was?
Literally almost the same thing as the rock guy. It's old Brin.
Was it really?
Mhm.
Well, let's change
So we
that.
got an old Bright and an old Brin.
Wow.
We can just call him Brin. That's fine.
No, it's okay. Go ahead and we'll call it Ulbrit. We'll call it this guy, and we'll call your guy Brin.
Yeah, Brin's fine.
And it would be his
Just
full name
for
would be
clarity.
Brindwin, would be his full name, but Brin will work.
Aw.
Okay. Oh God, it's gonna be terrible for this person. All right, so I'll give you a moment there where when this happens, he actually turns towards the noise and does that protective thing where he puts his arm out in front of you real quick, like to kind of push you back out of the way of the danger.
He only comes up to like how
Yeah,
high does he come
like-
up on me anyways?
You're not overly tall, and he's tall for a dwarf, so he's like 4'6", 4'7", and you're like 5'2", 5'3". So you have
okay.
that kind of just damn near
Yeah, I'm short.
almost a foot difference. I mean, slow dances are gonna be weird. I'm just telling you now. There's that to consider.
You might have to stand on your feet.
Do something like that. Well, she could use a spell and levitate him or something, just do bard shit. So,
Could do that.
moment where he pushes you back to the side. And he goes, it seems like it's starting to get pretty rowdy in here. He says, have you been thinking about leaving?
And I say, ooh, how fun.
This is
No,
fun
I'm here
for
with my
you.
friends. Oh, yeah. Am I still talking?
Sure you are. Go ahead.
Of course it's fun. Why wouldn't I come here and get rowdy?
Okay. He says, I'm going to step out for a bit of air now and give these guys a chance to play this scene out. Would you be joining me?
Yeah.
Okay. Like that, did you give him your lance when you were throwing the other ones, or your spear, or do you still have that on you?
I still have mine. I returned his back to him.
Okay. So with that, he turns and he makes his way through the crowd almost like a bodyguard, making room for you to walk behind him as you two go to head out the door. Okay, as these two are going out to head out the door, Brahmas, as you're looking around, you would see her leaving outside of a dwarf. Ignatius, where was Ignatius at?
I think he was watching Tamyra fight, wasn't he?
I think he was, yes. So he would be over
think
by
so.
Tamyra. He would be making a comment to Tamyra's character with a smile on his face and kind of his eyes squinting a little bit, be going, it would seem that games of chance and strength are fairly profitable here. And he smiles at you, and he says it's all for strength training, I'm sure, of course, carrying all that extra coin around with you.
Tamyra just flexes, does a few curls with her bag of gold.
He chuckles and stuff at that notion, and looks around. He says, it seems like Brahmas is taking a liking to your friend there. And he nods his head in the direction of Brahmas and Albrecht walking up the stairway in the far corner. He says, do you think we should accompany him, or do you have something else in mind?
Tamyra is gonna keep her winning high and just, ride that out. So she's gonna go up and support her paladin brother, Brahmas. So me and Ignatius are gonna go give him all the support.
Okay, cool. Okay, with that, Miasha, you are sitting at the table. And do me a favor, everyone, kind of remember your individual place when I come back to you so we can kind of go around this in case I have trouble, okay? Miasha, you are sitting there at the bar with Sha-dae. And Sha-dae is talking to you about the potential of a bounty hunters guild being made in the city at some time in the future. That Sha-dae would say, I've just had counsel from two of the airship captains above, one you're quite familiar with and fond of, Aeolus, and the other one, Galeandra. And they have decided they're going to start some kind of bounty hunters guild here. I don't know if you would have any interest in anything of that nature. Could be he goes, it looks as to be an excuse to travel.
An excuse to travel it may be, but if it does not align with my, how shall we put it, moral compass, then I might not be interested.
She smiles and says, dearie, a compass is only as good as the direction you point it in.
A
Sometimes
compass points only in one direction. It's mercurial, dearie.
He goes, however you want to view it. You have your opinion and I have mine. And he says, but I will tell you this. If you always follow a needle without giving it a nudge every once in a while, in a direction maybe that is more suited for you, well, who knows where you'll end up.
If you say so, you are after all so wise and knowledgeable.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you're finally starting to realize this.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Okay. With that, Danny, and the reason I'm stopping it so shortly is because Danny's character is getting ready to come up and join us, Rachel. Okay. So, Danny, you were on the Lylung, and Aeolus was giving you plans, and you had been very hell-bent on trying to be the most serious version of yourself, like the best first mate that you could possibly be at this moment, because the Skywatch has been practically on lockdown since Dauntus had an attempted murder. He would be dead if it weren't for the Thundercracker reviving him. Okay. And Aeolus has taken this extraordinarily seriously, that this has happened the way it has. Let me see here. Small more compass, compass. So,
Oh man, I put that on the other chat.
Yeah, right on. Okay. So, having said that, it's all good, dude. You have been doing things where you are going through and interviewing all kinds of different crew members that you're normally are reoccurring that have been on the Lylung ship. You've been going through and investigating quarters. You have been firing people, kicking people off. You've had no personal time for yourself. Aeolus has had you hopping Okay. And as you are doing these things and running from place to place, you see something out of the corner of your eye, and walking up one of the main planks to the actual ship as it's docked. You have the large ramp put in there because people are coming to and fro quite a bit, slightly snow covered. You see someone somewhat familiar that you've never personally spoken to making their way up towards the railing of the Lai Lung, and you recognize this as Asliar, or the Drowned Kiss, from the other ship, the Dreadnought. Okay, seems to be the first mate, seems to have a little bit of a wicked mystique about him. And he has the long black hair, the blue tint to the skin, dressed up with a high color, almost like a vagabond, dark pirate attire, with a long pointed sword that would be called an epoch, I think is what you would call this type of blade that he carries with him. And looks like the character that plays Loki. Is it Tom Middleston? What's the name of that character? Is that what it is?
Hiddleston, I believe.
Okay.
Tom Hiddleston, yes.
With an H? Okay, I thought it was an M. My bad. I'm not up on my entertainment, man. So roll a perception check with advantage. Danny, right now Dayhon is on high alert and checking everyone, so I don't mind giving you that.
I got a natural 19 on the first roll.
Fuck yeah, you did. Okay, so with that, without even saying any more, you notice that for it being so cold out here, his hair seems to be wet, and he seems to have a bruise around the corner of one side of his mouth, and he is walking with a bit of a limp. Okay, and he is coming up the ramp towards you, and you look and you see that is leaving a little bit of dampness in the foot marks that he's leaving on some of the bare wood where the snow is drifting across and catching it.
Make my way not so much I put myself between him, the plank, and the ship, so that for him to gain access, he's actually got to go through me.
Okay, I hear you there. Okay, with that, the eyes come up, and there's an attempt at a clever grin, but it winces with a little bit of pain mixed in. He can't quite be that charismatic at this moment. He chuckles and goes, I wondered who I'd find first. It's been an overdue. From one ship to another. He says, you are
Dayhon, face first mate.
He goes, the first mate, I share your burden on the Dreadnought. I am Asliar. He says to you, and I hope you don't find this odd at all, Dayhon, even though I am just now learning your name for the first time. He says, but I believe through what I have seen and watched after our battle in the sky some weeks ago, you are someone that I can be honest with. Are you that person?
Sure.
Okay. What kind of vibe are you wanting to send off here?
He's probably a little standoffish just because with everything going on, he would get the idea that he doesn't want anybody on the ship that doesn't belong there after the last few days' activity.
He says, I know you've made relations with several different people and several different vessels here. Your circles have been wide. It's been noticed, especially by our ship and her captain. He says, and I also know that you have fought side by side with my other partner in this Sha-dae. Is this correct?
Yeah, she was there when I took out the Rougarou.
And so you fought together then?
She lended a hand.
I can see modesty is not anything. It's a problem for you. As he coughs a little bit, you see a little bit of a blood, but there's no red to it. It's more blue. There might be a tinge of blood to it, but you're not sure. It comes up out of the corner of the mouth like that. as he quickly covers it and rubs it off, looking at it in his fingers like this, and having almost a sadistic smile, almost like a psycho or psychopath kind of looking at their own pain and getting a kick out of it. He looks and says, well, Dayhon, there could possibly be another fight coming. But this is one I would rather be well prepared for. And you might be able to help me on that. I have an offer.
Speak.
I have a message that I need to have delivered to Sha-dae and some of the other ones I know that accompany you, such as the young native girl.
How tall is he?
He is about 6'1", skinny framed.
When he
He's
mentions,
also on the lower part of the ramp of you too.
yeah, so when he mentions Oma, he would look down to him and actually reach in just enough of the phoenix that he can blow smoke out of his nose.
Or you mean the behemoth? With the
Sorry, the behemoth.
Okay. Go ahead and roll a. Do you want to do a intimidation, or what do you want to do here?
I guess he's just setting the tone with him mentioning her. 19 plus.
You and your
20.
natural 19s.
Yeah, dude, 2 in a row.
Okay.
I used 2 different die. That's awesome.
I rolled a natural 3. So as you do that, he looks sideways and he goes, I can see I've struck a nerve. He goes, that's good. Because that way I know that I'm getting through to you. And if that, you see a deep breath fill Aslier's lungs, and he looks back at you and shoots you a very cold look that's non-blinking, almost alien-like. Okay? And he says, this is of great importance. We want Skywatch to be safe again, yes?
Yes.
I, however, like a jester, holds his hands up like this, cannot personally deliver this message, for Sha-dae has got, let's just simply call it a bad opinion of me. But these words will ring true. Takes a scroll that seems to have a wax mark on it. Okay. The wax mark that is closing it looks to be an airship with a basilisk wrapped around it, with the head biting the end of the ship. That's the emblem on the large wax stamp that is on this scroll. And he holds it out. And in the other hand, he holds his other hand out, and there seems to be some coins in his hand. He says, could you deliver this to them?
He looks to him and he says, if this is a fool's errand, I'll find you.
I'm not hard to find. I'm the ship that's always a little bit ahead of yours.
He yells for, oh shoot, yells for Biggs.
Okay, Biggs, right on. That was funny back in the day. The only one to get that joke would be Alex. Biggs comes walking up, looking quite a shambles, but trying to look swelled up and serious in spite of the ship being on this lockdown and the things that you've entrusted him to do, especially after Dantus was killed and shit like that. What is it you would ask of him? He walks up and just stands there and gives you a nod, doesn't say a word.
He says, tell Aeolus, the captain, that I will be checking up on something at the Lowlander's place.
Okay.
I'm going to head to the mug, see if I can link up with Oma and Sha-dae.
Okay. He's like, he's saying the words like he's trying to remember the names. Oma and Sha-dae. Okay. Oma and Sha-dae, got it. Okay. I'll do that right now. Yes, sir. He says like that, and he turns and he jogs off quickly in that direction to go. As you turn back around, you can see that Asliar has got a foot going down the other direction and has left those coins laying on the railing of the ship, whereas you wouldn't permit him entrance any further up. And there seems to be 5 gold coins laying there on the arm of the ship. It's quite a bit for delivering a message. And says, then we're in agreement.
Looks that way. He grabs the coin, starts to walk down the ramp.
Have this done before darkness falls on the city. It would be best for everyone.
I can arrange that.
Okay. Now, you know, in the background, you and Omen were attacked by these things. You might have an idea as to what he's speaking of here. But, of course, you're not showing your cards. Okay? With that, he limps his way back down the main ramp. Okay? So, Danny, fast forward. You go to the mug. Okay? With this letter, and you're not quite sure. You don't have any ability of checking this thing and making sure it's safe. You've just met Sha-dae, but you believe her intentions seem to be in the right place. But you know, if Omen and her together, the safer one is the safer both of them are. Okay? Having said that, and you being a champion of the fights from the other day, beating that behemoth in front of everyone, you would have a little bit more pull in this place than you did the last time. Okay? So as you go down, we could go through a lot here. We could go through your meet with, oh, goodness gracious, so many names come to mind. The Dra-kin that watches the door. Terran.
Terran.
You know what I mean?
My guess is he would probably, if he couldn't find him right away, is he would try to get involved in a game to get it loud enough that they find him.
Okay. So with that, when you first walk in the room, okay, you hear the crash of someone being thrown over the top banister into the table, and you see that. And at that little moment that creates, and all the heads kind of turn and stuff, you do a once over of the room, trying to locate where everyone else is. Go ahead and roll me a perception check, please.
17.
That's total?
Yep.
Okay. And yeah, we can do that. Okay. So over to the side, you would see Oma standing between an arm wrestling table that's been kind of made out of a large round wooden table that's had some parts cut out of it like crescent moons with different betting pots and things in it, a large crowd. You see the large throwing weapon game. Rojord leaned up against a corner. And on the bar that is typically Aloria's bar, the one on the left-hand side of this place, you would see Sha-dae, you would see her back, and Oma would be no more than like 5-10 foot from her, looking over some brand new kind of cloak that she has on that you're not familiar with. It looks to be tribal to some degree. It looks it seems to be complement of her color scheme of the blues and whites and grays that she typically wears. And she's kind of just looking it over and pulling it against her and feeling out some of the furs and things that are on. It has silver fox fur on a part around the neck and stuff where the hood would be. And she's just kind of checking it out. You see Sha-dae there. You see Oma there. It's over by that part of the bar.
He makes his way towards Sha-dae, and as he does, he's already reaching in that coin purse that he just got so he can buy him a giant mug of the finest ale the drunken mug has.
Okay. As you're going past them and heading that direction, you bump into someone. And as you do, Sylowen, as you were turning around and talking to, and what was it? What did we call him again? Brin. As you were turning around talking to Brin, and you had just a little bit to drink, all of a sudden you feel something solid. And as you turn around and look up, you've bumped straight into the chest of this large Samoan Polynesian looking warrior with a tattooed face that's very solemn with a dark tan skin, a large warrior, if you will. Your head is at his chest. So we've got this neat little family portrait of stair-step people. You have the dwarf that comes to your chest, and you come to Danny's. It's like a basketball lineup picture. When you do this, it's solid.
Can you hear me now?
I can't. Right on. What are you doing in this instance?
Well, I mean, if I just ran into somebody, I would just be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I did not see you there."
Danny, anything particular? This person, they came into you pretty dead on. This wasn't an actual like intimidating glance. This is someone that wasn't watching where they were going and just head on came straight into collision. Okay. What is Dayhon doing?
He just smiles and says, "Oh, it's entirely my fault. I haven't got my land legs yet."
Well, I might be a little worse for wear as far as drink goes, so.
Okay. With that, Brin steps up by you and gets in between the two of you and holds his chin up and looks up at you, Danny. He says, "Everything okay here? Let's make some room for the lady." And he's giving you that tough guy shit. What are you doing?
He starts to walk forward, just like through him.
Okay. I know you're like, oh shit. Okay. Okay. So as that happens, and you go to walk through him, he puts a foot back and he holds his chest out. And as he does, it's almost like a person going against a railing and just rubbing it as they go along something. He keeps you a good foot and a half away from her as you can feel him sticking his chest into you to create space. Do you have any
Do
kind
I
of reaction to
see this?
Absolutely. You're right there.
Okay, I do not like that. Like, what the heck? I turned to Brienne and I'm like, "What's wrong with you? Leave the poor man alone."
And you're saying this to Brin? Okay.
Yeah.
Roll an intimidation check, please, with advantage.
Ooh, so you gotta move.
I like how Sylowen's character's a little drunk, so her camera work is lagging, which makes it sound absolutely perfect. That she, so it's a tool. I
I'm
like it.
sorry.
No, it's all good. What was your roll?
That's gonna be an 18 for intimidation.
Okay. You beat him by quite a bit. As you do, he says, he was not watching where he was going, and I was making sure that you have the room that you deserve.
And then I say, "I don't need you to protect me. I wasn't watching where I was going, and I ran into him. How dare you? I've known you for 10 minutes, and you're already acting like you own me? What is this?"
He's literally just awestruck.
Our first fight.
And he's looking at you, and he's seeing all these words, and he's mumbling something, but he's not saying it. And he says, "My uncles and fathers told me it would be like this one day. I would find a strong woman." And he kind of grins, one to put me in my place. As you say, it was your fault. Watch where you're going from now on.
Thank you. I will.
Okay, then. Okay.
So, like,
okay.
everybody's good now, right? Like.
I think everybody's.
I'm sorry, Daniel. What's your character's name again?
He would have just kept on walking.
I'm still lagging.
Dayhon, and he's going. He's
Okay.
like 10 foot going, and you two are. He's trying to learn how to give in to your part of this argument and stuff, and he's new at this. As that happens, there's a couple different people, a couple different dwarves that are looking at him and kind of snickering and putting their head down, and they're saying like sarcastic things like, oh, I'm sorry, this is so sorry. And they're doing all this like really childish kind of shit as he just kind of, you can tell he takes a big prideful thing of air and he goes, well, it's anyway. It's,
And I absolutely look over at them and I say, sorry, the lag is so bad. No,
It's
I
okay.
look over at them and I say, don't make me come over there.
yeah, guys, you wouldn't want to be on our way. And it would be her fault too. He says, like, can't. And he goes, but like the captain of a ship or the leader and the general of an army, your mistakes are my mistakes, and I'll stand by you.
Oh, God. All right.
This is a romance-stricken little dwarf. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, well, we're in love.
Okay. Well, there's that. Like you said, a whole like 10 minutes. I mean, hell. So, so with that, you have encountered the brick wall, which is Dayhon. Dayhon, you have that scroll and things on you, and you are headed over to the bar. As they do, Miasha, you are still sitting there having this conversation. As you do, you sense the presence of a large individual making their way over towards you. You know how you can usually see if people are passersby. And like I said before, when you're at the card game, you always kind of sit with one leg over, kind of looking at the crowd and the bar at the same time. And you see this large, like I've described Danny several times here, headed over to the table. Is there anything you'd like to do or anything particularly you'd like to investigate as his eyes lock with yours for just a moment as he turns his look from Sha-dae to you and back and forth?
Yeah, weapons. Where are his weapons?
Okay, so what you would see, Danny, tell her what she can actually see at this point.
The only thing you see is he's not wearing a cloak like most of you would be. He's got what looks to be the fur and hooves of a behemoth on his chest, and he's wearing some gauntlets that have different pieces of different animals on it. Looks like even phoenix feathers wrapped up through one portion of it.
Okay.
No weapons particularly.
All right, so just kind of a natural drop from the back of her neck. Her hand just kind of falls to just remind herself that she is armed. Just a quick, swift brush over her own thigh before she falls back into a kind of more relaxed position.
Okay. I also wanted to mention something to you, Miasha, that we hadn't had a chance to talk about. Is your that the purple and red scarves that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The purple one can become animated to a certain degree, almost like an animate object and stuff. But the red one, the one that has the small, fine, almost like snakeskin like scales that go over top of it, and it seems to be made of a red, very fine fabric and things like that. That one seems to have an intelligence of its own. You can use it almost like it's a familiar to you, like you can send it off to do different things, and it wraps up in almost like a magic carpet. But it is more than the purple one. This one has an intellect. This one has emotions. In one night, and I want to do this briefly, and then we'll get back to it. Okay, you actually caught. You were woke up by the sound of some kind of whistling, like breathing. One night when you were back in the city of Tamyra, as you were staying and working at that one man's booth, the Antonio Banderas' character's booth, and you looked over and you saw something wrapped up around one of the ropes on the tent outside, and you've never seen anything like that in your life at that point. It looked like a long snake-like creature that had folded white wings on its back, and it had feathers around the neck of it with almost a bird-like head, and they were multiple colored.
Oh, I'm following. I know what you mean.
Okay.
as the plan. Yes, I'm with
Yes.
you.
And after you did some studying to a degree, you believe that this is a very young version of one of those. Okay. I believe what's it called? A cultural.
Coatl, I think it
Yes.
is.
And it is very young of that, and it keeps this shape to stay safe and to stay hidden. And it is pretty much your inseparable pet.
Okay.
It stays with
Yes.
you, and it works as that piece of scarving for you. You always have it.
Okay.
At that moment, you would feel it shift and move just a little bit as you were reassuring yourself as to where the chakrams were. You seem to have some kind of connection to this creature. Okay. I wanted to tell you about that sooner. I thought you'd get a kick out of that, and it's appropriate for what you've been through and things. So, having said that, Danny, you're walking up to the table. You know the scene. You know what people look like, where they are. Who are you addressing first? Oma looks up at you and stares for a long moment, and her eyes look weary. She looks tired, but she has a very big, very pleasant smile. And she says, Dayhon, I didn't expect that I would see you here this soon. I thought you were back at the ship.
Apparently I'm a messenger now. And he
A messenger.
drops that scroll in front of Sha-dae as he waves for which bar are we at? Aloria's or
Aloria's, yeah.
Okay, he waves for Aloria and throws the gold coin down.
Okay, as that lands over the right shoulder, Sha-dae looks up and goes, oh, it's you. She goes, I thought I felt your steps coming up from behind the bar stool. And she goes, what do I owe the pleasure of this visit?
He taps the bar where he laid the scroll. Said apparently first mates are messenger boys now.
He goes, and apparently you've spent the price of this on a drink. It must not have been too much of a burden for you, I'm sure. You just chuckle. That's fine. We can move on. Okay. From that, Sha-dae takes the scroll and looks at it for a moment and looks to you all, looks over at your character, Miasha, and looks at Danny. She goes, I'm going to need just a moment to go check this out. You two should get acquainted. And Sha-dae stands up, walks from the bar, and goes to walk outside, following the path that Sylowen and Brin had made. Okay. At that moment, she goes out with the scroll. Okay. Good job, Danny. And now you were there with an empty stool. And now you see Aloria's character, which you know who she looks, what she looks like, and that and the other, coming over, looking across, and she gives you a long look, and she goes, and she looks at Miasha, and she looks at you, and she goes, am I interrupting an introduction?
You're fine. Do what you need to do. It's okay. We have all the time in the world.
She smiles, and she goes, and I'm to assume that this pile of gold is yours, Dayhon?
Yes, I'd like a large ale in my favorite cup.
So that's only a part of one of these. Are you wanting this to be pretty much the normal Dayhon special, which is I give you as much as you can keep drinking until you pass out, then I spend the rest to clean up the mess that you make in my bar? Is that what we're doing?
So he scoots a few back and he said, I'll be good tonight.
She goes, so you say. She goes, I guess it's not much as long as you have a smile on your face and I can have some of that gold in my pocket at the end of the night. I think you're in the right crowd tonight, Dayhon.
What goes on up there?
And she goes, well, if you look at the table, you can clearly see what goes on up there. And she goes, and you'll be having what everyone's having tonight. She goes, just take it and go fill it over there. And she gets out this large wood, well, not large, but this wooden pedestaled stand that has two pedestals on it and a large platform on the bottom and a large, what looks like a war horn. And you notice around, there's many people here drinking out of those tonight. And there's all these new kegs that have been brought in almost like on sawhorse-like devices that are propped up in all different kinds of places. Roland is just rocking out the violin right now. And you've got to imagine that as you get to looking around, you can see there's a big puddle of that ale on the floor where so many people have been over to it. There's a line of 3 or 4 people, and it's just about 15 foot around the side of the bar in between the Rojord game and where Roland is performing. There's that large keg there, and you can just go fill it up yourself at this point.
He picks it up and he goes, reminds me of the time Dantas bet me I couldn't get through a whole keg in a night with one of these.
She says to you, that actually, that is a point I wish to make. How is Dantas doing? He doesn't owe us anything, mind you. He actually settled up quite nicely just one day ago out of nowhere. But is he doing okay?
We'll need some days, but Dahlia's taking care of him.
Okay. Well, if you break that horn or something, you can go ahead and give me the rest of the gold back. That we'll call what you've gave me a deposit on it. Have fun out there. And there's a couple other people yelling down from the other end at this point. Miasha, would you like to be drinking anything at this point?
No, I'm fine currently, staying as sober as is possible.
Okay. Danny, roll me a history check, please.
Yeah, he didn't do so well in history class, like third grade or so.
Right
So
on.
dice roll.
Okay. Okay. So does that go with a number? Or you just want to tell me you did horribly?
3.
That works. Okay. Miasha, please roll me a history check.
Oh, she didn't do well in history class either. This will be interesting.
Good Lord.
Let's see. 12. United in idiocy we are.
Here's a funny thing. You two have heard about each other. You've heard about this Philadelphia tigress that performs and stuff like that. And you've heard about the large barbaric first mate that they find sometimes laying around drunk and getting into fights and shit. But you two can't just, you both look at each other for a minute with that awkward empty seat there. You look at each other and you're kind of like, but you can't quite put the dots together. I'll give you two a moment if there's any kind of interaction there whatsoever, or do you have a seat, Danny?
He would actually probably sit down and then motion to Oma and say, so what actually does go on up there? Is it for money?
Miasha, did you interject? If not, Oma's going to go ahead and start speaking.
It is either for money or it is for egos.
Oma looks at you and smiles. She goes, I would say you've got both right. Two perfectly good answers for one perfectly good question. And she smiles. And she goes, ooh, Brahmas is fighting. And she just kind of looks up. She goes, I want to watch. And she pulls the blanket around herself.
Because,
and right in mid-conversation, like a little kid, she starts making it that way.
Shit. I was going to have her bet on me.
You hear this, Miasha. He says this underneath his breath. What do you do?
I would wager my bets on you first, I think.
Okay. All right. So we have this scene where you're getting ready to go upstairs. The Brahmas is getting ready up here to go up and fight Albrecht. Okay. Tamyra was, I believe, headed in that direction too, correct? Okay. So we'll go through this, trying to include everybody the best way that I possibly know how, and then we'll continue on. Okay. So, Miasha, in this moment, you look towards the door and you see Dayhon start heading that direction as if he's like smelled something interesting. He's like, he just kind of heads that direction, right? Like everybody else is going. You give a look over and you see that Sha-dae still has not come back, that she has went outside to do some kind of reading of this scroll that this large person has delivered. What would you like to do at this point? Do you want to stay there? Is there someone else you'd like to find and talk to? Do you want to go outside as well? Do you want to go upstairs? Is there a game in here you have an interest in? Whatever you would like to do. No pressure.
That's all right. I'm just I'm thinking because it's been a long day for her. And just being constantly on high alert is exhausting. I think it would be more her speed to either observe and try and stay away from as much action and as much interrogation as possible, more than it would be to sort of dive into any like skullduggery or like big socializations or big events.
Okay, that works. Now, does that take you up and out of your chair, or do you kind of hold your place here for now? And you, I forgot you told me you're not. You are not drinking anything at this moment.
I am not at this
Okay.
moment.
So, okay, and this is just for flavor. The fact that you are sitting at this bar with it this busy and not drinking anything, you do get several different looks over the course of it as you start to feel like you really have people looking through you with like daggered eyes. You don't believe any of them would be foolish enough to act. And the dwarves that are almost like sad. They can't figure out what's wrong with your head. You know, it's not like they're angry. They just can't understand if everything that's going on. I mean, this is Dwarven Wake. We're not supposed to sit here and mount people. You know, that's kind of their take on it. So you feel that pressure to a degree, and you see that Sha-dae is gone. They've gone. I'll give you a few moments to think about whatever you may want to do moving forward. Okay. Okay. As Brahmas, as you get up to the top, okay, and you are on this large inside second layer, like balcony, and then you can see where the two big openings have been opened, where there's large sliding wooden doors that are circular, or sorry, arched in a certain way, where they open up and contour of the outer wall. There's a large deck on the outside of this too, or a large stone balcony that leads outside. There are fires in the corners of this thing. It is rounded off with a railing along the edge of it that is probably about 4 foot tall, made of stone, that is anchored by different depictions of falcons and hawks and giants and knights and things of that nature, almost like gargoyle-like things that adorn the outside edge of this. Okay. As you come up there are 3 or 4 different dwarves that have hoisted up one particular dwarf on their shoulders. And you recognize this dwarf very, very well as they hand him back his helmet that is full of ale from outside. You know, they've been drinking out of their helmets. You see large horns that are made out of pearl and shit on the side of it. And you see the dark crimson red beard of Tamyra. Tamyra was one of them that was outside helping clean up the chaos and shit after this. And he has just sent this was it a half orc? I believe, yeah, just sailing over the railing and finished him off with a large swipe from this large warhammer that he has. As he walks back over and he grabs hold of the handle, he takes a stout foot and he kicks the butt of it and it makes it do a circle. And he puts it up back on his shoulder like that, and he starts chugging out of the helmet like that, just wetting the beard down like a basset hound. It's getting fucking crazy. He is in full tilt and enjoying this. Somewhere inside of Brahmas, you've got to be smiling. Okay. As you see that, he looks over, Danny, and you would see Brahmas coming up here to be a part of this and shit. What would you have to say to him after your victory? You just won the World Series, Danny. What are you going to do next?
Yeah, it wasn't quite as hard as wrestling with me batter, but at least it gave me a few seconds to dry out.
Okay. You have a camaraderie with him, as you've seen him as a very level-headed, very noble dwarf that is a mighty warrior. He's a bear rider. And Brahmas, you can see he's just won the last fight. Is there anything you would like to say to him in particularly, or what are you looking for up here?
Not quite saying anything just yet. Good. He will give him a kind of a noble nod, give him a little bit of a physical acknowledgement of what he's done.
Okay, you can do that. As that's going on, Danny, you realize that you have just won, and that gives you privy to several different things here and whatnot. Now, Brahmas, if you are looking for a scrap up here and shit, you're gonna have to jump in on it. Ahead of you is Albert, okay? And as he walks over, Tamyra, you see this figure come over, in the shadow of him kind of closes in around you, and you can hear sarcastically some dwarves and different people going, ooh, like that. As this large Dwayne The Rock Johnson character kind of looks down over you. He has like a white tunic on, okay? It looks almost like ancient Greek, kind of. He has these large bracers that go around his wrists and his ankles, and his skin seems to be made of a stone texture, Danny. It's as I was describing to everybody earlier, and he looks down top of you with a large, muscular, hunched back that now, Brahmas, from your view, looks more like jagged rocks of muscle than actually a strong person. It's very unique, the texture that he's taken on. And he looks down at you and he goes, I hope you enjoyed that victory.
It's quite obvious I did.
It's quite obvious the only reason you won is because I wasn't here yet.
Hey,
He goes, so now you've collected what you've needed to, move aside. It's someone else's turn. What are you saying to him?
you think because you're a few feet taller than me, all of a sudden I'm nervous. I've been wrestling me bear since he was quite a bit larger than you.
He just kind of looks down at you. And whereas you normally be getting a kick out of stuff and people would be entertained by what you're saying, he looks more solemn than he did before you started speaking.
He says, but if you'd like to be polite and you and your buddy want to wrestle, I get out of here.
He takes a step past you and doesn't brush you hard, but does brush you by a couple inches with his shoulder. Roll a contesting strength check, Danny.
22.
20 to 22. You beat him, but barely. So as he goes to push past you, he actually has to give a little bit to you as you are solidly anchored into the floor. It's impressive. As you go by, he goes over to the edge of stuff like that, and he takes that tunic and he starts to take it off one shoulder and he starts tying it in knots and has it go down where it looks like now he has kind of like a kilt made out of this white tunic-like material, Brahmas. And as he does, he puts his hands on the railings of his back to you and he starts cracking his neck, and it literally sounds like people are breaking stones with a sledgehammer and stuff. And he just kind of looks up at the sky and looks around and looks back over his shoulder with that freaking eyebrow. Looks over at you. And he says, how do we know if you bleed?
There's only one way to find out, isn't there?
I just want to make sure that when you're asking me to stop, I'm able to hear you. Call it a fighter's courtesy.
And Brahmas will just kind of stare at it.
Okay.
Kind of give him his own eyebrow raise.
Okay. As everyone starts to get back along the sides and everything like this, Tamyra, you know the rules of this thing. You know that these aren't fights to the death. This is the fight for the first person to get knocked down or bloodied in this. If they go past that, it's insulting to the sport. This is supposed to be something for celebration, not for just being the people to death up here. So if there's something you want to say, if Tamyra wants to throw out some rules here before this gets started, since you won the last fight and you have a lot of people's respect here, I'll let you do that. But if you're not comfortable with it, that's fine too. It's completely up to you, man.
He says, now both of you be knowing that there'll be no death blows here. He says, but Brahmas, By the way, this acting, I'd say if you kicked him right about the chin, it'd be sort of like hitting someone right in the testicles.
What do you say to that, Mirk?
I almost feel like he could hear Mirk laughing inside.
You would see a shift and stuff in the armor, and you would see, like you studied him out there when he was working with you, Tamyra, and stuff, and helping pick up the bodies and the wreckage. It's funny how his metal parts and things can twist and contort to show emotion, almost like someone was working like a large puppet. And you see a bit of that as the gaze around the eye seems to squint, and the shield over top of the mouth seems to move a certain direction. The shoulders come up. You can see emotion coming through this construct.
Tamyra chuckles a little bit and he says, "The last time I seen one that grumpy, he tried a fountain of youth potion and spilled it on his crotch. Ran around with the wiener of a 3-year-old, he did."
Okay. So with that, the character turns around with his arms stoutly walked out to the side, and he marches up and puts a foot into the floor and grinds his foot, and you can see it wears a little spot in the wood, where this is an old, well, no, I'm sorry, this is stone up here because you're out on that balcony, so you can hear it kind of grind and stuff against the stone ground and things. And he puts his fists up, hold him out to the side, almost like a shoot fighter would if you've ever seen something like that. He's waiting for you to step up like that. A couple of the dwarves that were with you earlier today are standing around you. And he says, "You've got to watch that one. If things start floating around him, he's getting ready to put a wall up on you. It'll slow him down, but if you get caught by it, it's going to hurt like fuck. Even you. It'd be like rattling the outside of a tin can, I'd have to imagine. Be wary." He gives you that note. Okay? Brahmas, what are you doing?
I'm going to step up to him and assume my stance.
Okay. As you do, Tamyra, you want to announce when this summit starts?
Right, what we've got in here are weighing in at half a cliff face with no gemstones.
The cliff face with no gemstones. Very nice, Danny.
And over here, all the intelligence that could be contained in, well, I'm not quite sure what you are, Brahmas, but I do like to drink with you.
All right. With that, we're going to roll initiative, then we're going to see who else we can bring up here into this, okay? So was there anything you were doing in your free time? I'll give you 1 second to tell me if there's something you were preparing, and then it's initiative time, since everyone was taking their sweet time getting to this. Okay, so go ahead and roll initiative, bud.
Has the lag been better since we're on the same screen?
Yes, absolutely. I'm going to try to get to you two here just as soon as I can. There's a lot going on, so I'll be back. I promise.
No,
ladies.
you're fine. I just wanted to make sure. If not, we were gonna like do something else.
No, this actually, that works good. And it was funny that when you were lagging, you were drunk and trying to yell at your man. It's like, how dare you? That was pretty sweet. That was good stuff. So, Brahmas.
Now, it's been a while since I've rolled initiative, so you have to remind me. I've
Oh,
got on my
you're
sheet, it's
so
4
greedy.
plus 2 plus mod.
Yeah, 1d20
Yep,
plus your proficiency bonus,
yep.
and then plus the modifier tied to what you want to do. So if you're
Okay.
doing a spell thing, it would be your spell modifier. If you're doing an attack thing, it would be your dexterity modifier. And then you may have skill points spent on anticipation or things that help you have a faster initiative. All that should be on the front of your character sheet. If if it's already been added in. Initiative is on the right-hand side of your character sheet about halfway down. You'll have speed and initiative in these little boxes. Do you see it? Okay, go ahead and roll. Tell me what you get.
Rolled a 15, so that'd be 19, 24, think it'd be 24.
Okay, wow, that's good. Okay, just a minute. Okay. Okay, just a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So, having said that, you will go first in just 1 second. Okay. So, at that, we're going to get back to you. You'll have initiative on your round. Take a minute to look your stuff over. Make sure you have your stuff pulled up or whatever you need. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and I want to get back real quick with Sylowen, which has went outside. Okay. And you have went outside. Let me make sure I got everything right here. Okay. And you, and what was his name again? Brin?
Yes.
Okay.
Please tell me
Okay.
he's not about to murder me in the street.
I don't know how it's going to work. So, anyway,
Yay.
as you go outside, the air is cool, but your face is kind of flushed and kind of hot from everything that's been going on inside of here. It feels good. I could see someone even for a moment like taking a deep breath and kind of closing her eyes and absorbing it in just a little bit. He just kind of stares at you and wander, just there as almost like a guard in a way. He just can't get
This
naturally
is getting
comfortable and
creepy.
enjoy it. What's that?
He's getting creepy.
Okay, but that's what he's doing though. As he does, he looks out and he says, you know, these stars, there's a lot of people that have a lot of different stories about them. You wouldn't think that dwarves would know anything of them. The only things shiny that we see are gems. But in the very few times that we do, and our mothers and their mothers tell them stories, it's just like the souls that lay about here growing cold in these wagons. It's like their memories are still warm, but that's about all. And he looks up and he says, sometimes we think that the souls of those warriors are deemed worthy are the ones that keep those lights burning bright, almost like kindling on a large fire. He says to you, and he says, sometimes when it's cloudy and the year grows long and you can't see the stars for very long, my mother says that's when the cowardice comes out in most men. Because that's when the stars fade because there's nothing there to fuel them. He goes, but tonight, look how bright they are. I don't know that I can remember a time. And he comes down, he looks at you, and he looks in you in the eyes for a moment. He says, I can't think of a time when the stars were ever brighter. Because these heroes have certainly rekindled the flames in the heavens. And it's thanks to you. You're one of the heroes. How does it feel to know then that the stars shine bright down upon us because of your deeds earlier today? What do you think?
What was it? Well, Heather's puking. But Sylowen.
I just made that shit up too. Not easy. Not easy. But go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Well.
Do you just want to do a charisma check and see how you respond to help you? Because I know it's a lot. It's not
Yeah,
easy.
because that's a lot. I don't even know.
It's a lot. He's laying it on pretty fucking thick. But he's not being Sylowen tenacious, or he's not being an ass about it. He's being very solemn and very humble about this.
Can I do a charisma check to answer him? But can I also do an insight check to see if, like, is he doing this because he lost a friend or family in this? Or
okay, well, first do a charisma and we'll see how that goes.
Well, maybe I should just take over. Or just straight charisma. 6.
As he says that and he looks into your eyes,
Someone's just crying.
Comparing them to the stars, obviously. You verp.
I mean,
You give a little bit of a vomit burp, you little drunk. Right in the middle of that, you thought you were holding your corn. You're like, brr.
real life.
Look at him. That's what a
That
sick
tracks.
for you.
That tracks.
Now, with the other intuition thing, go ahead and roll that, and I'll see if you can peer into his psyche a little. little verp with a 6. Why not? You know.
Well, I am proficient, so 18.
Yeah, that's good. From what you can gather, between the heartburn in your throat now and stuff, because that ale's really starting to feel kind of strong. It's strange, his take on it, and really his take being the dwarven take on this whole thing. You know, of course he's lost somebody dear to them, but these dwarves seem to be treating everyone like their close family. And you know they all can't be related. It's funny how, or you hope not anyway, but it's funny how when he speaks about this, he says things that would normally be sad and heartbreaking to you and your people, the loss of folks, because folks where you're from live a long, long time. The death of someone is rare and usually a very solemn thing where there are weeks of people spent in silence in dealing with things and worried about who's going to fill their shoes and things of that nature. With these folks, these lowlanders, which is what Davians call them, it's amazing their resolve. His reaction is one of a race of people that have lost a lot of different people over the years and have developed an amazing coping mechanism. It almost would choke you up from the sadness of it, but you would be, I can imagine with your role and what you've been through, it would almost be uplifting to see that kind of look at things. We're used to things being so solemn. These guys are extremely courageous and upbeat about their plot in life. That's what you would kind of understand. I had been thinking about this off and on throughout the night with all the different things that you've seen, Sylowen. But at this moment, hearing him say this hardened fisherman warrior like type of guy that was going to butt chests with someone comes outside and starts looking at the stars and telling you these things, they're pretty impressive people.
Okay. Well, I guess at that point, Sylowen would be touched by him opening up to me so quickly after meeting him. Anyways, and I guess I would grab his shoulder and I would say, Brin, we've all been through a lot, but the people that you lost here today, those are the heroes. I am no hero.
He looks at you and he puts kind of a half grin on himself and he goes, modesty suits you. Modesty suits you.
Sylowen is by no means modest.
A book with your name on it.
He looks over at you for just a moment and he looks down at the ground as if he wants to say something, but he just doesn't know quite how. Like he has this stuff and he goes, I hope you don't mind my forwardness in this, but I have to ask something just from out of concern. Okay? And he's looking at you for approval of this. What do you say?
I mean, he's asking a question, right?
He's asking for permission to ask a question.
Oh, well then I say, of course. Tell me what you need or what you want to know.
How has it come to be that you are hurt in such a way? And he's talking about your wound.
That's pretty deep for me to hear 10 minutes ago.
He says,
Okay.
I can't imagine. anything like that. With us, with our type and people, if someone were to trim our beards down, it's frowned upon until we grow them back.
I don't get to grow this one back.
But you seem strong.
Okay, well, I guess I'll just reply. I lost my wing because, wait, hold on, Brian, question to the DM. I lost my wing because I trusted somebody I shouldn't have, correct? Or was I just attacked?
You were attacked by those wyvern cultists. Remember, they were trying to...
I just didn't know if I had trusted them or something like that, or if they just out of the blue attacked me.
They just kind of out of the blue showed up and did this. They followed your song,
Okay,
which was meant as Piece of Seasons. And I'm pretty sure you remember the story pretty well, don't you?
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't miss something.
Okay.
Yes, I love it. But okay, so I guess I would just say I lost my wing when I became too trusting of the world. So I don't know why I'm out here, but so I guess my only thing is that always be on your guard.
Or always have a guard to be near you.
Sure.
He says to you, he says, Sylowen. And he takes his hand and puts on top of yours. It's on top of his shoulder. And he says to you, I've got you.
Did we just gain a new person in the party?
I don't know. I'm just doing what happens. This is what D&D does. He says, I've got you.
Well, I appreciate that, Brian, but I have myself. I've learned a lot since I lost my wing through some very great people. Winking at you, Jeremy.
Right on. And thinking of that, and when you think about that, for the moment you realize that he's inside and there's other things going on. And they did give, they have helped you along this path and made you strong enough. And it was pretty neat. You're rekindling your thoughts again about whipping his ass that game earlier. And things of that nature all seem to be going through your mind at this moment. Having said that, you hear the large cheering and shit, and you hear Brahmas's name being yelled from the inside, almost like they're announcing him.
Okay. And then I guess I grab Brienne's hand and I say, hey, I would not miss this for the world. Can we go watch?
He goes, absolutely.
And can you get me a drink?
I'll find you. He
Okay,
goes,
I'll find you.
The big, and he goes like this, like trying to define what Brahma says. He's trying to ask, is that the one that they're yelling? Is that his name?
Yes, that's him. Yes, you can't miss him. I promise.
He goes, in a fight, no less. That's gonna be crazy. He says,
well, we're gonna be late, so let's go.
I'll meet you there. Same as before. Then, what you've got, more of it.
Yes.
More of it coming, my angel.
I just walk away. I just walk inside.
Okay, so yeah, I'm dude. You've done so many charisma checks and just kicked this guy's ass. Even that verp isn't deterring him. He's locked. So good luck with this. So anyway, as you rush back in and you see the crowd and you see people starting to try to fix the banister. What are you doing when you first walk in there? It's fairly crowded. It would take you at least 60, 70 feet to get from where you are to the steps that go up to the ledge. Is that where you're headed first? You see Tamyra. Tamyra, where were you standing at this moment? You were headed up there as well, correct?
Ignatius and I were just on our way up. So I guess we're there. We're in Brahmas's corner. Ready.
I would say you guys are behind him and you guys would be up against the railing and would make eye contact with Sylowen as she comes through. Ignatius has been holding his breath and looking out there for quite a long time to see if she came back in. And you've noticed this, Tamyra, that he watches over her, especially when she doesn't know it. Is there anything you'd like to say to him as he has a sigh of relief and he says, there she is. I think she's headed this way.
Tamyra looks at him and says, next time let me know and I'll go fetch her.
He smiles. He goes, sometimes it's good for people to find their own way. I'm figuring that out slowly, one person at a time, one sip at a time. And he kind of grins like a little kid and pulls that one vial of his own shit that he made back up out of his cloak and has another little drink of it and smiles.
Tamyra just puts her arm, like a very friendly, puts her arm around him and kind of gives him a good squeeze.
He
He's
smiles.
wings.
He smiles at that. And he goes, "Remember, I'm smart. I'm not sturdy. Be easy with me there, champion." He says like that, commenting on what happened down below. Okay, so we've got you two up there on the railing. Sylowen on her way.
Full dash
Well,
action,
guy
straight
getting
up there.
Drinks. Okay. Danny's character, Dayhon,
On his way up.
on his way up. Brahmas is there. World Initiative ready to pull out some van damage. Rachel. Sha-dae has still not came back in yet, and that's perfectly fine. You can chill out there. You can do, what would you like to do at this point? You can do anything you would like to do.
How long has it been since she left?
15 minutes.
It's a long time to read a note.
It would seem maybe.
Hang on.
Would I have seen Sha-dae because I was outside with Brin?
No.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Thought about that, but no.
All right. I think as much as she'd want to, currently it is not her problem. So she will not be investigating where Sha-dae has gone to. But because everyone seems to be thinking of whatever's going upstairs as the main event of the evening, curiosity might win out. She might go up there and just see what's going on, just scope it out, and if it's boring, leave.
Okay. Also, keep in mind that you wouldn't entertain here because you said you want to keep a low profile.
Yeah, I thought about it, but then I considered the fact that if they go over the railing, I could very well be in that area of damage.
Yeah,
so.
right, yeah. And mind you, this isn't just to make sure I include you in everything that's going on, because there's a lot that's going to happen to you here real soon. It's just not at this exact moment. There's a lot that's going to happen with you here in a few. I just want to give you the option to remind you, I know you're there, you're being very patient, and if there's anything you want to do, you let me know, okay?
Yeah.
You're headed up there to kind of be a bystander now. You're wanting to be in the back, kind of looking around instead of going up front. Is that correct?
Yeah, just to see.
Okay. All right. So with that, Dayhon, you are halfway up the steps and you see this Sylowen character. And Sylowen, now, as far as the way you are dressed up right now, normally you have your wyvern armor on to a degree that's kind of like light to medium at most, and you don't have your helmet on. Your helmet's on your side. Okay. You have the lance and things of that nature. So you're booking through. I want you to roll me a dexterity check and see how well you get across this crowded room and see what happens to you. As you're half belligerent, I need you to roll disadvantage because of your addiction. Because of your problem at Tamyra mean to talk to you about.
That went from an 18 to a 6. So thank you for the disadvantage.
Hey, that's what DMs are here for. We're here to remind you that drinks are real, kids. And they have a real effect on your dice roll. So remember, the next time you have to roll 1d20s, try not to drink and roll. Okay. So anyway, 6, huh? That's not worth it. It's diddly shit. Let me see here how we got this going on. Okay.
Am I going to be the next person who gets thrown off the back?
As you take off running in that way, Danny is headed up the steps. As you make and bustle your way around, you run straight solid into something.
Oh no.
Again.
Without knowing what you did with a 6. And as you look up, you're on the lower step and stuff, and you look up and you see the large back of this large Samoan, very familiar looking warrior as he turns around at you with a frown and a look of confusion as you have ran right into the back of him once again. Danny, what's Dayhon doing? She seems to be finding you.
I guess it's good I'm here to protect you from running into anyone smaller.
Is my dwarf around?
No, he's getting you a
Getting
drink.
you a drink still.
Okay. Then I guess I say, my, we sure are attracted to each other tonight, aren't we?
Oh man, it's
What I
getting
think
shitty now.
so.
Oh my, she's playing the game, everyone. Oh, what do you say?
Dayhon would take a deep breath and try to remember his recent promises to Aeolus and be
Hold
like,
on. Hold, you know what? No, bullshit. Bullshit. Sylowen, roll charisma check.
Damn it.
It's a curse, I know. It's got to be. It's got to feel horrible being you.
20, a dirty 20.
A dirty 20. I love Danny. What would this be? What is to not be charmed? Wisdom.
oh,
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. In spells, it's not being charmed as wisdom. So go for it, Daniel McGuffey.
that would be a whopping 13.
Okay. My God. Oh, the threat is real, everybody. All right. So DM's going to make us rule for this, and it happened. So as she comes up there and does this, and she bumps into you, and you turn around with this clever thing to say, I'm glad no one else is, you're not running into anyone else. And she says this thing about just, I can't believe how attracted we are to each other. Can you believe it? And I'm going to describe Sylowen to you in the way that a low score versus a high charisma score would seem, Danny. And I'm not
Tamyra is
far-fetched because I helped create this character. She is very, very pretty. Her eyes are a bit larger than a normal person's. This is an avian. Okay. She is very pale, fair skin with very long, wavy, like blonde hair. It is amazing the size of the eyes to the face ratio and how strange that is, but how attractive that appears to be. She's a warrior to a degree, and she carries a sense of humor on her sleeve when she does this. She doesn't seem like she's out of place at all. And you are taken just a little bit by the gumption of this small mortal, as it were. Having said that and knowing your roles now, what would you like to say in response to this? Play your character, Danny.
He's not that slick, so I'm trying to think of what he would say. If this
I
was
know
fast,
he's not.
it'd be
That's what I'm
easy.
saying. He's not. This could get real interesting, especially when that dwarf comes up with a drink. And I just.
No, in
I hope
Dayhon,
this
he
gets
would just,
shitty.
Dayhon's, how much has he had to drink in that time? It's one drink. So yeah, he'd probably already just throw his arm around her and start walking up the steps.
Oh, better be careful. This
Dayhon.
snake will bite you. So, is that what you want to do when she says that? Are you throwing your arm around her and walking up the steps?
That would be Dayhon, absolutely.
Okay. Sylowen.
Earlier, I said Tamyra and Ignatius see this and they just get their popcorn out and they're just eating popcorn while
Right
they're
on.
back.
It makes you just be like, how is this going to go?
Which Tamyra has had this same experience from him before.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I, as a huge advocate for consent, slap his arm away.
This is beautiful. Roll a attack roll.
Attack roll.
Roll an attack roll.
Okay, that's not bad. 25.
A 25. You are surprised, Danny, so you don't get your dexterity bonuses to blocking and things like that as she goes to smack the big trunk of an arm away from her. Now, do you smack it with your weapon, with your hand?
No, my hand for
I
sure.
want to get her. I want your lance out. I want you. Oh!
Chop his arm off. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay. So you've got that going on, Danny. As sometimes you don't pet the dragon. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, and as I do that, I say, "Do not touch without asking."
How loud do you say that?
I guess pretty loud.
I got a Jeremy. I want you to roll a perception check for Brin.
Fuck. I'm gonna start a fight.
Oh my! No, he didn't hear it.
Rolled a 2.
Okay,
Thank God for that very
okay.
dumb
Shit was getting
door.
ready to go down. There was going to be fisherman spears being thrown, and shit was getting ready to be real.
He is so enamored in catering to his lady that he's paying no attention to anything else.
That's right. That's right. Make sure to fill it
He's
up.
just trying to be able to see over the bar at this point. He's just like, hello? Hello?
He's like, fill it up all the way. You know, I told her she had stars in her eyes. I did. Yeah. Yeah. It seems to be working out okay. Yeah.
The bartender's like,
Okay. She in a little bit of a verb. So at that moment, Danny, what are you doing?
Dayhon would step back up the steps and just kind of look confused, and then turn on his heel and start up the steps.
Okay. Sylowen, he got the point.
Cool.
All right. As you guys go up there, at this moment, Brahmas, you have initiative. You are 10 foot away from this person. You are in a 30 by 30 foot circle. 30, it's like 15 foot this way, 15 foot this way, 30-foot circle. Okay. You guys are in the center of this thing. You have initiative. What is it that Mirk would like to make Brahmas do?
I think outside of it being mentioned to him that he's got that ability with the floating rocks, I don't think Brahmas is really going to go into this with a whole lot of magic intent. He's just going to go in here with just as much raw power as he could muster.
Okay.
But he will look at this guy in the eyes and just say, "You're mine," and he's going to cast Hunter's Mark.
Okay, cool. That's a bonus action. Okay, I don't have to roll for it. He's marked.
Yep. And then I'm going to go in, just give him the real steel deal.
The real steel deal. Really? I'm writing that down. Competition for the name of the episode. Nice. That'd be a nice one. The real steel deal. Okay. So, with your D20s, you remember where your attack bonuses are, correct? On your character sheet. You remember the feats and things you have, do you not? Okay. You also have divine smites that you can throw into it. You have all the overdrives that you have. So many fun things at your disposal here, Brahma. So just let me have it. You've only had like 3 weeks to prepare for this, so no judging. Go ahead, buddy. What's going on?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to lead out with smites until this guy starts showing some
Rachel's
face,
up there
so.
like, listen, if you would just listen to me, if you could just listen to me, we get this. All right, go ahead, buddy. I'm gonna find some battle music while you're telling me some shit.
Are we allowed to cast spells on Brahmas? Or would that ruin the rules or go against the rules?
You don't know.
Okay.
You could ask somebody, but you're not sure.
I was asking as not Sylowen, but okay.
Do what?
I was asking as not Sylowen, so that's what I meant. But
I get it. No, she doesn't know. As far as the etiquette and the way the shit works around here, you do what you want to do, man. All right, go ahead, Jeremy. What's going on, buddy?
I rolled an 18.
Total of 18. Okay. The first time that you attack, he chooses to accept that attack. Okay. So as you do, you notice that when you were coming at him, you got your distance a little bit off and you're really surprised that you hit him. But when he does, he's doing this thing where his arms are crossed like this in front of him. And he just kind of puts his head down and looks at you. Okay. I want you to go ahead and roll the damage for that attack. What it was going to cause. Ooh, damn. Yeah, go ahead.
It's a 13 damage.
Okay, 13 total. Okay. When you go to hit him like this, when he crosses his arms in this way, when you go to hit him, for half a second before you hit him, it almost feels like two magnets pushing against each other, like they won't quite do. And when you hit, all of a sudden you see a ripple in force from in front of his arms for just a minute as he looks up at you with kind of like this sinister kind of smile that's very chiseled out of his face. Your hand takes 13 points of damage exactly the way you would have done it to him. This is a monk reaction move that he can do to your miss. And it is wild. You've never seen anything like it. But when you go to hit him, wham, and your hand almost comes back like you shot a shotgun. So you take 13 points of damage to that hand.
Within the outer armor?
That's going to be the inner armor. Okay. And you would take non-lethal 13. And that's just your first attack.
And does he still have his arms crossed?
No. Now he's holding them down to the sides. And he's moved a foot towards you. He's grinding his back foot into the ground.
All right. Well, I'll go ahead and swing at him again.
Okay. Now that counts as a hit. So if you're using combo attack, you made contact. So, make sure to ask the questions. Do it right. Okay, buddy?
And combo attack is a +1 to hit, or is it a +1 to the damage?
+1 to hit.
17.
Total of 17. That one just misses and goes wide of him. Actually, let me find out. Actually, no, that would have been a weapon block. So as you're coming in from an earth swing, describe the swing so I can give you some animations here. The first one, you just came straight at him and he crossed and bam, and your arm came back like a shotgun kick. What was the second attack? What did it look like?
I was saying the first one came in like a shotgun blast. The second one would have kind of been like an over the shoulder.
Okay, as that one comes in, he actually stands to the side and comes in and does a hammer fist on the actual arm that was coming at him as a weapon block with the arts and things that he's used. When what I do is, well, I don't want to describe all that now. Let's stay in a moment. But when he hits with a weapon block, it has a chance of doing damage to you because he's hammer fisting as he stands to the side and hits the side of your arm, driving it away. Now, if it's a weapon, it wouldn't matter, but hand to hand, it does. Okay. So with that, you would take 14 points of bludgeoning damage. And that is going to be, let me roll that to see how it, and that would be to inner armor as well and non-lethal. Okay.
You said 14?
Uh-huh. And on top of that, he's going to add a stunning strike. I need you to roll a Constitution saving throw for me. Hope you came prepared because he ain't playing.
Ryan, I have a question.
Yes,
Wait, so Brahmas is fighting the stone guy, right?
he is.
Isn't he the stone guy at disadvantage because I hurt his arm?
Nope.
No? I thought
16.
Nope, you didn't do any kind of physical damage to his arm when you slammed him down. Had you beat him, I mean, you rolled a 20 and you said, you know what, just for the hell of it, let's see. I want you to roll me a DC of 1d20 plus 5 for a Constitution check, and I want to see if you did hurt his arm on that. That's a fair point, but I didn't really put that into it. So let's see. Just a minute, Jeremy. Remember that, and we're going to see. Okay.
You said +5. That's gonna be an 18.
Nope.
18. Okay, I'm going to do a Constitution saving throw for him to see if that was able to hurt his arm when you did that. Okay. He rolled right at an 18. Okay, so here's what I'll say. On that last damage that he did, I'm going to minus 5 off of that because he would have done it with the right hand on that hammer fist. After a few more times of that, then that condition will go away. So that last damage that you got, Jeremy, he did 5 damage less on that one. Good job, Tamyra. See, and that's not in the rules or anything, but that just makes sense. Why not throw that little bit of flavor in, that he had a little bit of a spring in it, and we did a hammer fist. He wasn't thinking he couldn't come in as hard as he normally would have. So it had a good effect. Okay? Cool. Okay.
That was a 16 versus his stunning strike.
Ooh, okay. Let's see how you did. No, it did not make it. Okay, so you, right after that one, wham, when he hits inside there, inside of Brahmas. And is that music too loud? Can you guys hear that? Is it too loud or is it okay?
Oh, it's good.
Okay, cool. You see some dust fall down, and there's this shock wave that goes through as you see a crack in one of those windows and stuff, and you're shuddered and shook on the inside of Brahmas. And you have a moment where you're kind of disillusioned and stuff, like you're feeling the effects of this stunning strike run through the body of Brahmas, and it has got you off your game a little bit on the inside here, and you're fighting to regain control. So almost like you're in a car wreck and you're trying to come to your senses, like who hit me from what direction? You're kind of shell shocked. Okay. Okay. With that, it automatically ends. Now, did you want to use a overdrive to see if you're able to beat that? Do you have an overdrive that could help you on your save?
I don't think so, but I don't think Brahmas would have pulled it out just yet.
Okay. Okay, so that stuns you at that moment. Okay. So on top of that, we're going to go ahead and go to his turn. And at the end of your next turn, you'll be unstunned. So it pretty much is going to skip your go. It's going to stop there. It's going to be his turn now. It is going to be strange. And if any of you guys want to yell anything from the background, please remember you guys are watching this shit, and your interaction in this is important. You guys aren't just standing there as bystanders and stuff. You're part of this shit. You're cheering and booing and making a difference here however you want to. So with that, let's just say, for instance, Dayhon, you're a hand-to-hand warrior combatant and shit, and you've got Sylowen standing right beside you. So you might want to be talking to her play to play about what's actually happening in this fight. Sylowen's probably going to be asking, what's happening? How's Brahmas doing? She's going to be jumping because she can't see over top of her body, trying to check it out. Tamyra is going to be talking to Ignatius about, I know he's got these paladin things in him. I wish he were doing this and wish he were doing that. Just so you guys all feel that you're part of this. I hate that you have to sit there and wait for this in turns, but that's part of it, is getting in on everyone else's fun, moving the spotlight around. So anyone has anything they want to add or say, fucking just throw up a hand and start talking, okay?
I do.
Tamyra.
Before Brahmas's next turn, I kind of nudge Ignatius and I say, we're going to start a Brahmas chant. It's going to start really low, and we're going to build. We're waiting for his next turn to start.
He looks at you and he kind of squints and goes, a chant? Or
repeat, and she just goes, repeat after me.
Okay, I can do that. He just kind of smiles and looks around like, oh God, what is she getting me into? Okay. Sylowen, did you have anything you were adding in or saying right now?
I mean, so I did get up there before the fight started.
Yes.
Okay, cool. then I would just be, I don't know. I guess I just do like that fangirl thing where I'm like, woo, promise, you got this. You know, because it rhymes.
Okay. Danny, what are you doing? Anything particular, buddy?
Knowing Dayhon, he's actually looking to see if he's going to have to fight one of them, and probably thinking it's not as great of an idea as he thought.
Okay. Okay. Miasha, you were hanging tight. There was nothing going on. You were very tempted to go outside, but nothing yet. And Sylowen has just walked back in the door, looks right and left, and looks across to you. She looks up at Ignatius for a long moment, like she's staring into him. And she looks at you and she kind of gives you a roguish thieves' cant as, let's talk outside.
You mean Sha-dae or Sylowen?
I meant, yeah, Sha-dae, sorry. Sha-dae.
Okay, I was like, okay.
Yeah, Sylowen just jumped across the damn room. Sorry. Lots of people, lots of names. So, yes, Sha-dae comes in the door and does this and looks to you and nods to you in thieves' cant to tell you that she'd like for you to come outside to talk. Okay?
Right. Yes. I'll just pause in whatever I was doing and just sort of tilt my head towards the door to indicate I am going to go.
Okay. We'll get to that in just 1 second. You're on your way there. Okay, Brahmas, here's what's happening. Danny, you see this and you kind of get what's getting ready to happen here, and it makes you go, okay. He is doing a certain move, but it's not a rapid fire thing. It's one very strong thing. So after he's done that to you and stunned at you, he kind of looks over to you and is like, He takes his fist and he does this kind of circle with him, and he brings his fist back and he starts. And as he does, his hand starts to grow, almost like the Hellboy hand that the dwarf had down below. Stone seems to erupt and start to grow a little bit bigger around it. And what he's doing is, on this turn, he would have had 3 attacks around, but he's only taking 1. This is a ancient martial arts like the destructive blow, where he can multiply the damage of 1 strike by holding other ones back to just do 1 very powerful one. Now, since you are standing there and you are stunned, this has advantage on it. Okay? And this is going to have the power of 3 attacks wrapped into 1 if he's able to hit it. Now, the thing is, in our version of the game, we have factors like dexterity, weapon block, and things that we add in. Now I'm hitting an armor class of just hitting you to see if I can hurt you. You're not moving. You're standing in front of him. So your armor class is 10. Okay? The only thing you get added on to that, because he's going to touch you. He's going to hit you if he can beat an armor class of 10. The trick is, on our system, when he does, isn't enough to penetrate you and really fuck you up. And that's where the breach and shit comes into it. So if he's able to roll this and breach just a 10 plus what your armor gives you, which I think is a 9, I think you're 90% covered. So if I can beat a 19, that means I'm getting past something, I'm hitting something very sensitive, and it's fucking you up. If I get 10 or higher, that means I'm just hitting the outside of you. Okay? He says, this is a wake-up call. And he puts it on you. He breached you. He got 23. Okay? So this is going to be straight damage to the inner armor, and you'll be taking non-lethal from this. Okay? And now we get to see what this fun bunch of shit is. Hold on just a minute. $32 points of bludgeoning damage, of force damage to you. Okay, that goes against the inner, and you take that non-lethal damage on the inside, and you are pushed back 10 foot.
You don't have like a hellish rebuke or something similar, do you, in your spells?
Now, even if he did, he's stunned.
True.
Yep.
True.
Now, with that, I'm going to forgo it, but I'm not sure if you're stunned, if that's an automatic crit or not. I don't think it is, but I know it's advantage. So, yeah, it's like I say, that damage. So, what is your non-lethal damage threshold? Is it 4 or 5 or something like that?
I think stun is just disadvantage, and then if they're dead or unconscious, it's automatic crit.
Yeah. So, what's your non-lethal damage threshold, Jeremy? It'll be up beside your hit points.
For my inner is 4.
Okay, so what I say it was 34 points of damage.
32, I think.
32.
So that's what, 8?
Yeah, it's like 8 points of lethal damage. And your armor takes that 32. Now, that 32, that's enough to be a breaking blow on that. That breaks its limit, doesn't it?
Armor's got a 90.
Okay, what about the inner? What's its damage resistance? What's the main number?
50.
Okay, it wasn't then. Okay, shoot. Damn, it's close though. Okay, so he does that, and it pushes you 10 foot backwards. Now, I want you, just for chances, it's a chance it could topple this. It's a chance it couldn't, since it's a large construct. So I'm going to roll a strength check for him to see if it's able to topple this thing, because you're so big. Okay. And no, it just pushed you back 10 foot away from him. Okay, as he hits you with that one mighty blow. It rings the halls inside this place, dude. I mean, it rings the halls in here. With that, you are stunned from before. Okay, now not even an attack in this brings you out of stun. Okay, this isn't like a condition where as soon as you're touched, all of a sudden you're not stunned anymore. You're stunned until the end of your next turn, which would be this one. Okay, so on the rebound, you're pushed back 10 foot. Okay, we all see this. And now this guy's aiming up to do something else to you. All right. And after that, you would not be stunned any longer. Okay. Does anyone around here have anything they want to do in reaction to this?
Am I close enough to touch him? Now that he's been
You
knocked
could be
back.
at the end of the next round. You could make your way around, but you couldn't right now. No.
Okay.
Can I ask the guy next to me, Dayhon? Can I ask him if he knows if casting spells is against the rules?
You're seeing her getting anxious for her friend. And you know people take a beating in fights, but this guy, this Brin, he seems to really have him on the ropes and is taking advantage of this at the moment. What are you saying, Dayhon?
Usually, anytime a match like this for honor, you lose if your friends get involved.
Sylowen is sad about that, but agrees.
Okay.
Thank you, stranger.
With this next,
Now, if you had prepped him before he went in, it would have been a different story.
We were fighting on the stairs.
okay, with this next series of attacks, he is going to take his hands and he's going to take them. He's going to do a kind of movement with them, and he's going to jump up in the air, and he's going to come down like a superhero fall. When he does, he's going to punch both hands into the ground. Okay. When he does that, an earthen-like fist comes up from underneath of where your character is at, Brahmas. Okay? And that one, well, that's really a dexterity throw for half damage, which you would automatically fail because you're stunned. So it's full damage to you. Okay? This is like a shockwave of some kind of earth force that comes up, and you see spires of stone that look to be like fist-like like stones made of fist that come up out of the ground underneath of you. The damage from that is, and this would be to your outer. Okay. That's going to be 31. Okay. That's 31 points of, well, might as well call it bludgeoning damage. Okay. And that's going to be, you're going to take that non-lethal, and that's also going to be to your outer. Okay. At the end of that one, let's go ahead and say now it is your turn. And he is 10 foot away from you. And when that hits you, I need to roll a strength check to see if it was able to knock you prone. That's one of the things it does. It knocks you up and down. He rolled very well. So that would have picked you up in the air and slammed you down. And you would be in the prone position now, 10 foot out in front of him, as he's drawing his hands back up where he's punched the ground really hard, actually kind of breaking some of the stone underneath where he drove his fist into the ground. What are you doing, Brahmas?
You said I'm not stunned anymore?
You are not stunned anymore, no, because he passed your last turn, went again, and now you're unstunned. It's your turn. We'll go on your go this turn, and we'll go ahead and take a 15 break after that. Or do you want it to think it through?
We'll go ahead and take our break. I'll give it a second to think about it, but I think I got an idea what I'm about to pull out.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pause this. We'll talk for just like 1 minute, do our break, and then we'll come back and get into this. So we'll see you here in just about 15. Okay, we're back like it didn't even happen with the magic of video. Magic. So, Brahmas, fuck you going to do, buddy? This guy is putting a punch on you, and if you get bloodied, you need to let me know.
I was saying, Brahmas is definitely looking bad. Outer armor looks great. Inner armor it's got a whole lot of crumble going on.
He's the bells. It's just getting. I know, man. I know it. And you know,
like Mirk's got a black eye at this point. Like,
right on domestic disturbance call to his angel. Right. All right. So, buddy, it's your turn. You are 10 foot away from him. Now with your great sword, you have a 10-foot range. But you'd have to walk up to him to be able to punch him with these arms. Do your thing. What do you want to do here, bud? Because he's pulling out some stops and putting some shit on you. He is a monk of some kind. You've not seen anything like this.
Mirk has resolved to the fact that even if he gets beat down by this guy is good.
Yeah.
Like, he has no problems at this point losing to this guy just because he's pulling all the stops.
Yeah. Well, he
walked in here didn't think anybody was going to be up for it.
Yeah.
So he's going to go back at him again, and he's going to swing at him. Hunter's Mark's still on, and if it connects, he's going to throw it a divine smite at him, just to kind of throw his own.
Okay.
He doesn't have his arms crossed, does he?
No.
That's a nat 20.
So altogether, what's that, 29? Okay. With that, you're able to hit the person. Now, here's the trouble. When he is in this like this, he is 100% of this. There's no breaching what he is. He is constructed of it. So what I have to do for theatrics is I put on the one thing, plus I put a stipulation like this. So when you hit and do what would be a breaching hit on him, although he's 100% covered, I have to explain it with theatrics. I have to explain there was some kind of breakdown in what he thought was possible. Okay. So go ahead and decide what you want to do with your damage here. If you're doing one of your special seraphim abilities where you're using a overdrive, if you're doing a spell added to this, you also know that you can add cantrips and stuff to your attacks as well. So I mean, there's all kinds of things here that you can do. You just have to decide what you're doing.
Remind me, is using Divine Smite on attack a free thing or is that a bonus action?
It would be a bonus action. Oh, wait a minute. Tamyra. Now, I always use Divine Smite, always use a bonus action to put like a Divine something on my weapon first and then struck with it. But there's also a version where you can just add it to something after you've made the attack as a bonus action too, correct?
Ask Rachel. She's the expert.
Now, can you do, in saying that, can you do multiple Divine Smites on the same turn?
I think so.
You can prepare, so if you prepare a, say, let's, for example, you prepare like a Searing Smite before your attack, that is a smite damage. And if you hit on that attack, that's the only proviso for the extra Divine Smite ability.
It has to have a bonus action to do it.
No.
Oh,
No,
no.
yes.
See, I don't think regular
It does.
Smite
It does
needs anything. I think it's automatic if you hit. I don't think it takes a bonus action to do it.
Let me look it up.
Yeah.
2 seconds.
Hold on.
You can expel a spell slot to use Divine
Yeah,
Smite
it's
on an
spell
attack.
slot, that's it.
So
Yeah.
I think you can do it
doesn't
over
take
and
a
over.
bonus action.
Yeah,
So then, if it's just expending a spell slot, then he would just have to expend the magic points, right?
Right.
Mhm. That's right. Yeah,
the
so you
first
can
level
continue
one-
to do it.
The first level one is 3 magic points, and then it goes up by several depending on the highest level spell you can cast. So what's the
Oh, wow.
highest level spell Brahmas can cast as a paladin? Okay, so you could spend all the way up to doing a 3rd level smite, and it would be 3, 5, 7 magic points.
And 4d8 extra damage.
Yeah.
I would do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, with a nat 20, I'm going all out on this.
Yeah,
guy.
because it's all double the dice, bud. Okay, so go ahead and roll it up. Remember on that 20, ones don't count. You re-roll ones, and you roll up your damage and all this, plus your strength bonuses and all your damage, you know. And you've got, on the end of your attack, if you go to the very end column, it tells you your total bonus to when you cause damage. Okay, so you roll your dice up, plus your fist damage, and tell them what you get.
As he's swinging, Dayhon yells, "I got 10 gold on the ugly one."
Nice. Okay. So we're using your sword. You're using your fist still, right? Okay. Okay. Tell me what your total is there. What you rolled, and then I'll double it. Doesn't matter. Did you get it? That's
I think
funny.
it's 35 altogether.
Okay, you rolled your dice plus your fist, doubled that, then you added your bonus to the end. Okay, 35. Okay. That's one attack. Okay. As you hit him with that, the divine energy comes through your arm almost like some kind of radiant electricity that comes through, gathers around your wrist. And when you hit, there's this pulse and a blast of like white light and radiant like lightning and shit as you punch into him with that fist. What's the next thing you're doing? You see that when that hit him, he is going to use his reaction, and he is going to do Pillar of Stone. I'm going to roll a roll versus that. So your attack roll was a what again? It's a 20 plus 9, 29. Okay, with a DC of that to see how he does. No shit. Okay. When you hit him and did this, Brahmas, he seems to do this kind of thing where he hardens himself and kits in to embrace it. And when you hit him, it feels more solid than you would have planned. He's able to deflect some of that damage because he accepts the blow and takes it head on. Okay. Okay, next attack for you.
I think he's going to come in with a left hook doing the same thing.
Okay, go ahead. And it's a +1 because of combo attack.
19.
19 total? Okay. Okay, because he took the pillar of stone stance from before, that actually hits him. He's going into this thing where he's bringing up his defense, but being less mobile. So go ahead and roll your damage.
Have you been using your hunter's mark as well?
And are you doing another smite on this one too, or are you just punching? Okay, so that's 14 magic points gone already. Okay.
31.
31. Let me roll my roll here. Oh, shit. Okay. Okay. Okay, got it. Okay. How many attacks per round do you have?
Usually 2, but I'm going to use a steadfast assault if I can.
You'd absolutely can. So you've only used 5. You used 5 foot of movement to get up to him. Okay, so you can use 1 extra attack. You can't do 2 because you've already dipped into your movement a little bit. So you've got 1 more ready, and you've still got a bonus action. Now remember, do you have finishing combo or just combo attack as your feats?
I believe I have both.
Okay, that's good, because if you hit 1 more time, you get to do 1 more attack as a finishing combo move. It does damage +half automatically. That's a very good thing for you. So go ahead
attack
and
will be +2, right?
get this one's a +2 to hit.
$21.
That hits because of the stance. Yeah. So you're hitting
23 with my +2.
Oh, 23 for +2, definitely. That hits. Okay. Go ahead and roll your damage. And what are you doing on this one?
Divine Smite, 3rd level.
Okay, it's
All
21
shebang.
magic points. All right.
$35.
35. Yeah, okay. And he did not make it that time, so that's all done to him. Okay. So 35, 70. Okay, and he is 1 every 5. So okay. When you put those hits on him, and you've hit that outside body, you see some pieces of stone and stuff laying on the ground as if you've chipped away at the outside of him. And after these punches and stuff, you see that he is starting to, it's made him breathe quite heavily. Okay. As that extra damage that you were doing kind of went through and really affected him. Is there anything else you're doing? You have a bonus action, all right? Okay. What are you doing with that?
Would be the finishing combo, correct?
It would, yes. So now you'd have a +3 to hit with this, and it'd be a damage +half move, since you hit all the other ones in succession.
And that's advantage on the attack, and he has to roll against a DC against being stunned, correct?
Dazed, I believe.
It says stunned until the end of their next turn.
Okay, would be versus stun then. Go ahead.
So 28.
Okay.
31.
Okay, that breaches. So through all the cracks and stuff that you've just made hitting him in that one spot, and you just keep on digging, that last one gets through his defenses, and this one's going to do straight damage to him. Okay, and this is automatically damage plus half your dice. Okay, what are you doing on this one?
I think I'm gonna go ahead and go with the 3rd level Divine Smite again.
Okay,
I might as well just follow it up and keep it rolling.
all right. Go ahead and roll it, and then add half your dice rolls, and then put your bonus on the end of that. Tell me what you get.
That's 42. So plus half is another 21. So 63.
With that, I need you to do a Constitution saving throw for me. This is with Brahmas. This is with Mirk stats.
That's a 19. And he's got his DC against being stunned, by the way.
Okay. So you are able to keep up from the exhaustion of using that feat that you used to have your other attack. So normally that can give you a level of exhaustion, but you overcame that. So you're okay. And now what is the DC for him being stunned? You roll 1d20. And then you would add your wisdom modifier to that. Or no, sorry, you're using strength, your strength modifier to that. What's the DC?
Brian has cast
21.
silence.
Yeah, right. What was it?
21.
Okay. He just barely fails. He even has a feat, Tower of Iron Will, that helps him against things that can cause him stun and stuff like that. But with that high roll, he got advantage on it. He still wasn't able to beat it. He rolled 2 bad rolls. So as you hit him to twice like that, and it pushes him down, he is actually stunned from the blow, and is like that. Tamyra, do what you need to do.
Tamyra steps up and he puts his hammer between the two of you and he says, all right, we've seen enough. Brahmas, here's the champ. Go ahead and splash some water on Rocky over here and wake him up.
Rocky. So yeah, with that, when he falls, he almost goes silent as his eyes have that kind of golden glow to him. They kind of, the glow dims in them, Brahmas, as he closes his eyes, and he lands in that same kind of superhero pose with the fists on the floor to the sides of him, like he's trying to recuperate himself. And you see just little pieces of rocks and rubble falling from that chest and his rib cavities, laying on the ground below him as he's trying to bring himself back up. You can see a dull golden glow underneath the cracks that were made throughout him as they are starting to get smaller and smaller as he's starting to mend himself. No, but he was definitely taken to a bloodied position because of what you did. Okay.
Yeah, and I'd say if he'd allow it, Brahmas would reach out a hand to try to help him up because he's obviously about just as wore out. And if he takes it, he'd do his lay on hands to throw him up about 20 points.
Okay. Is there anything you like to say when you're doing this?
So that was a hell of a fight. It's been a long time since I've been hit that hard.
Okay, roll a persuasion check.
With advantage
Says who?
for winning.
You're hanging around Heather too much. You need to understand.
To being
16.
married.
Right on. What is it, Jeremy?
16.
Okay, I'll make it 17 just to make Kara happy. There you go. You got +1. Congratulations. Yeah. With that, when he does, he finally looks up and you can see his skin start to take a normal sheen again. You can see beads of sweat on him and things of that nature. As he starts to look up in your direction and he cracks his neck again like he did on the edge. And he reaches over and grabs onto your hand mightily with his other one and lifts himself up with the weight of you and says, so that's the cost of hearing the voice of the one who steers or pilots this thing, getting pummeled. He says to you, he says, did I even have any effect on you at all? Kind of condescending to himself.
I don't know that you'd understand exactly what I am, but on the inside of this body, there's a human spirit. And let me just say that the human spirit inside this body has a black eye.
He kind of tries a grin. You know how it comes across, but you can see that he's attempting a grin on his face as that happens. He just kind of nods and does the very familiar thing they did with Tamyra. He just kind of turns and looks over to Dayhon and holds his hands out like this, fist-wise, and gives him a straight nod, looking down at the floor. And then comes back up from that, lays his hands down on his side, and just walks away, pushing his way through the crowd. As he does, he walks right past you, Dayhon. Is there anything you are saying to him? Are you even looking at him at all as he walks past?
No, he would just be looking to Brahmas because he's actually seen Brahmas on the ship before, right before they left. And then seeing Tamyra there would excite him.
Okay, that works. With that, Brahmas, you look around and you see that your whole support group's up here. You see that Ignatius and Tamyra are along the side railing. You can see that Sylowen is over there in the background, standing beside some large warrior type person, almost looks barbaric to a certain degree. Is there anything you're saying to those folks as you come over? Some of the polish and shine knocked off of some of you. You took a pretty few good hits. There's a couple little things that could be dents and whatnot in you. Yeah. What are you saying to them as you walk up, or what are you guys saying to him? Let's have a conversation. Yeah, go ahead.
Rachel was explaining this to me earlier, and I kind of forget. I have like a pool of healing, but like I don't have to cast a spell to use.
Lay on hands.
Yes.
Yeah, so I definitely, when Brahmas comes up, I want to put my hand on him and boost him back up, I don't know, 20 points or so.
Awesome. And also keep in mind that you have an enhanced version of that because of one of your feats. Your lay on hands has some extra things. So if you look at your feats, I forget what I've called it, but it's you've taken that and you have upped it to a next level of something.
My blessed.
Well, while she does that, Sylowen just goes, "Oh my God, Brahmas, that was amazing! I was a little scared, not for you, but for your opponent. But really good job in there.
Oh, it says alternatively, I can expend 5 hit points from my pool of healing to cure the target of one disease or neutralize a poison as well.
That's good.
So not helpful.
But I
Yeah.
just want to heal him back up.
Okay. Well, do you know how big your pool of healing is? We can just do for theatrics to say you heal him back up some, or do you have a number?
It says hit points equal to your paladin level times 5. So I'm a 9, so I have 45.
Yeah. So how many would you like
Rachel's
to
so
give
proud.
him?
I'll give him 25.
Okay, good deal. Jeremy, make sure you write that down. You've got 25 to Mirk. And you've got well, the outside's healed differently. Well, no, it would be 25 to Mirk, and it would be 25 to your inner. Your outer heals differently. Okay. All right, with that, quickly, you're headed for the door, correct, Miasha?
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay. So as you get up to leave, and you're making your way across there, and you look up and you see the other folks that you've been with for a while, cheering on and doing this, that, and the other. Tamyra, you can see her back. You know, one of them that passed out there in the garden outside of the rest of them. You can hear Brahmas, you can hear heavy hits and things like that. And Ignatius is looking down at you, though. Ignatius is someone that you've had a little bit of a talk with before. When you first joined in, remember, he met you, and he just kind of looks at you for just a minute with questioning eyes, almost like to look at you to, you know, is everything okay? He just kind of looks you up and down with concern from across the
I
crowded room.
just give him a smile, a wink, a nod, and keep walking out.
Okay, roll a performance check to see if he knows you're full of shit or not.
All right. It's a 34.
Yeah. Oh, you don't understand. Miasha's fucking broken when it comes to things like this. He just kind of smiles and
Jeez.
nods. And at that point, he's rocked because Tamyra grabs onto him. She's like, did you see that? Like Tamyra like grabs him to tell him about a hit, and he's just kind of rocked away from you and pulled back over to watch the fight. As you step outside the front door, Terran, the large Dra-kin door bodyguard, or whatever you want to say, the door guy, is standing there, and he's looking out into the long night air. And he seems to be smoking a very long pipe as he's leaned up against the side of 1 foot up, and the smoke just seems to be rolling up over top of his head, around the large fins he has on the side of his head, up along his horns and curling up as he has a light covering of snow where he hasn't moved in at least a half an hour, where he's just sitting here, and you hear him humming along with the violin music that's being played inside of the drunken mug by Roland. Okay. As you walk out, you hear that very low, grandiose voice come from him. He doesn't look over. He continues to look forward with his eyes kind of dimmed, looking forward. He says, has there been any more trouble tonight?
Not that I've seen yet. No, no trouble.
That's the worst kind of trouble. The kind you can't see coming.
So ominous on such a exuberant celebration. My goodness, do you ever stop, sir?
He looks over at you and he goes, this is my happy voice. And he kind of grins just a little bit out of the side. And he says, normally when I'm upset, I have no voice at all.
It sort of catches her off guard when he says that that's his happy voice, and she does kind of, the laugh kind of forces itself out of her, and she sort of has to cover her mouth to kind of stop it. And so she says, well, if you're happy, I suppose then there's no reason to worry, right?
He goes to answer, but he hesitates for a minute. And he says, you might find this strange that I would ask this of you. But what's the first thing that you think about when you see my kind?
To like full honesty, no lying, just straight out. The first thing I think when I see your kind, she sort of just smiles. She looks down at her feet and then looks back over at him and says, I think you are very beautiful.
Roll another performance check.
That one is a 21.
Okay. That's good. There's a reason he asked that, because I knew you said that when you were first going in this place. Okay.
I am weak to the dragons. I am.
So when you say that, he turns around and he looks over his shoulder inside. And he looks back at you in a real serious moment. And he says, I don't think there's ever going to be enough that I can do to fix the scars that I've laid on this Ulran, our home. Roll a perception check to see what he's glancing at as he looks inside the place.
All right, that is an...
You were also in there casing and studying the place pretty well earlier, so I just want to see what you get.
17.
17 total. As he looks in, you can hear an eruption of laughter and some other things going on. And you look across the way, as I'll say he even continually looked at it. In one of those games that they were playing in there was the game of Rojor. Do you remember my description of that game from before,
Yeah.
Rachel? Okay.
Yes, I do.
And you realize, and it dawns on you, that one of the villains on that board is a Dra-kin. One of the images that needs to be struck down and killed is part of the game's rules to get to the top of the mountain. And that's what's on his mind. And he goes, not even time can erase some things.
Maybe not. And I'm not trying to discredit how you feel, but I think people will think what they want, and you get to decide how you act. And whatever bad you have done in the past, you are trying to fix it, and that is good. So
His
you
eyes
can't.
kind of squint and have marks in between as he looks at you, and you can see like the tension in the side there as he looks at you as he's thinking long on what you're saying.
It's I'm of the mind that you cannot be evil and be trying to better yourself. I think that is a contradiction.
He somewhat interrupts you at the end of that and says, how many ages have you been on this world? I apologize. He says, it is a acceptable question amongst my people.
Don't apologize. I'm not offended. Most would say not enough. It's and she sort of blinks a few times in surprise.
As if you don't know exactly.
Yeah.
He says and he sees your confusion to a moment. He goes, my point is that with words like those, however much time you have been allowed to live on this world, you've spent it well.
You flatter me. No, I say words and sometimes they stick. Thank you.
At that point, you see Sha-dae walking up from the distance. The long black hair, the black around the eyes, the chiseled face of a proper person, the rapier at her side that seems to have like raven feathers wrapped around the hilt to protect the hand guard. Walking up with a sash thrown over her back, wraps around her neck, and she comes up to you and you can see her breath in the cold out here. She goes, I'm simply going for a matter of moments and we're making all kinds of new friends, aren't we?
Yeah. I am very good at making friends when I am in the mood.
Well, let's see how we do about making enemies, especially of those who would deserve it.
It
She
might not
looks
come as
over at him. She goes, do you mind if I borrow this one for a little while? We have some things to discuss. With that, Terran just gives a long nod. He looks at you and he goes, will you be coming back or are you going to be leaving for the night? He looks to both of you as if he's trying to time how long people were gone and how long people stay. And he says, with everything that's been going on in the city lately, I try to keep a count on folks. And he says that very seriously.
well, even if we are not back tonight, which I cannot say with any certainty that we will be, I think we should talk more. So you can count on me returning to you at some point.
He'd smile. He says, I have conversations yet to have, if you would have them. He
Very,
smiles and
very.
nods at you. Very unemotional face to a degree, but when the brow moves and there's certain movements and things of that nature, and as he's using the pipe, it's a very human kind of thing that he's doing. Very sincere in this. He looks at the two of you, he looks over at Sha-dae and looks back at you, and he just goes over and takes another drag off of the pipe and blows the smoke out through his nose, and he closes his eyes. And he just begins to hum again along with the music that's going on inside. At that point, Sha-dae says, we haven't much time. She goes, I have a few things I was wanting to possibly run by you. I need you to tell me if you think I am crazy or not.
I can do that. Hit me with it.
As she turns and puts her hands behind her back, almost like a tutor walking and studying things, she walks away somewhat militantly. And she's looking about some of the different wagons and things like that, and looking up at the snowfall and things. This is the conversation that happens. She says to you, she goes, I've been given some valuable information that could possibly change who our allies are and who our friends in this matter might be. The thing is, I don't trust them. They've not come to me and asked to have this conversation of truth as you and I have had. She goes, and so I wish to test this theory. It's not just a one-sided thing. I can almost feel and hear the gears turning as I ask you these questions. So be patient with me and hear me out. Okay. Zenny, do you say anything to interject at that point, or can she continue?
She'd likely just say, I'm listening.
Okay. She goes, it would turn out that sometimes the snake that you believe would bite you is actually trying to protect you from a bigger snake. And that may very well be the case. With this drowned kiss, what a pompous name he has created for himself, this one that you gave chase to only just hours ago. And she goes, he's asking for a meeting with me, saying that, well, quite possibly he's had a complete change of heart in this whole matter. Now, whether or not I choose to believe him, that's for another day to decide. But I would like to have protection, if it will. It's a two-sided, it's a 2-for-1 deal. It's a win-win for us. Either way, if you're there and Ignatius is there, as well, we'd have his wisdom, we'd have your speed and cunning, and my negotiation skills. The 3 cornerstones of any perfectly normal conversation, wouldn't you think?
Yes. Yes, I agree. Awfully convenient, don't you think, that he wants to talk now?
Awfully. I agree exactly.
I don't need to tell you this, but caution would be wise. I have never known a person with motives like his to simply just turn around and suddenly want to be your friend. He must want something.
I don't know so much as he wants to be my friend, dearie. He says it's more of a matter of need, and I think now maybe this drowned kisses realize he needs me more than he needs me as an enemy. I will admit that I don't enjoy being poisoned, especially when I'm in the middle of trying to enjoy festivities, but at the same point, I am not dead of it. I was not killed in this manner.
Through sheer luck. It's not as if he gave you something that was not lethal.
I
Do not
think
give him
that's simply a
credit where
matter
it's
of
not
opinion.
due.
What's that?
Do not give him credit where he deserves none.
Oh, trust me, I'm here to discredit him if all possible, but use him wisely if his intentions are true. She puts her hand out like this to create space as if to stay back. And she takes a rapier out very, very slowly and looks back and holds it up in the air and says a word and does a sideward slash. And as she does, it looks like there's this little rip, an opening like some kind of spell, and out from it flies a raven. Okay? With a glowing red eye and a shadow tracer behind it. When she does that, it comes around and it does a circle and comes back down on her shoulder and lands and looks directly at you. And she goes, I'll have another set of eyes as well. If there's something to go wrong, of course, we know how everyone likes to lie to each other, especially in this web of who murdered who. She goes, hopefully with the help of Isadora here, and that's what she's calling her bird, she goes, we'll have the upper hand. This is a fourth set of eyes, 3 that will be there and a fourth one that the drowned kiss will not see coming. And I can assure you Isadora is unbiased. What do you say to that?
I'm really, I'm not sure, but I mean, I'm willing to come. I'm not, I'm not sure about this.
Okay. With that, what kind of action was going back on inside? Brahmas, you had just won. Okay. You were there having a conversation with Sylowen. She said how proud she was of you. Tamyra was healing you up to a degree from all this. Dayhon hadn't said much of anything yet. Is anyone in here doing or seeking out anything before we go ahead and end tonight's game?
Tamyra healing Brahmas, he'd give her a nod and thank you. I desperately needed that.
Here, a little bit of truth coming from inside the Titan, huh? Okay. So, Sylowen, at this point, the dwarf comes up because this only took like maybe 5 minutes, and he comes up and has 2 drinks, one for him and one for you, and he's making his way back up the steps. And he says, "Did I already miss everything?"
Yeah, you did. Brahmas won. It was amazing.
I can almost certainly imagine it would be almost like watching a castle crash into the ocean. He looks across and he says, and you know him fairly well, do you?
Yes, he's my teacher.
A teacher?
You do know what a teacher is, right?
He looks at you and he goes, I'm dwarven, I'm not toad.
No, she giggles. It's fine.
Okay. He says, oh, that was a joke. It was good. It was a good, and he starts drinking. Right in the middle of that. Oh, it's right, exactly. Kara's like, I get it. With that, he goes over to you, Brahmas, and he doesn't know how to toast to you, so he just kind of holds it up and
Clanks it against his chest.
yeah, he says, I'm glad you fared well out there. Any friend of Sylowen's is a friend of mine.
I don't even think I've told this dwarf my name at any point.
Any friend of hers is a
Lady.
friend of mine. Yeah. We don't need.
Brahmas,
I
Brahmas
might
would
have.
look at
Yeah.
him.
We don't
Brahmas
need
would look at him and be like, her name is Sylowen. And mine
He
not
looks-
your
he's like-
toast. I'm
he's like,
toasting you in here.
Sylowen. Right, Sylowen. Thanks, friend. Sylowen.
Well, anyways, Brahmas, how was that winning your fight? That looked really fun. And I just kind of like move in front of him to talk to you. Like,
He's
It's
just
been
like,
a very
"Oh,
long
good to
time
see you."
since I've
Oh.
taken hits that hard.
Yeah.
I bet we heard it from outside.
You
With
should
that-
have heard it in here.
Right one.
Oh.
So, Danny, you see this guy go by and you notice that he was a monk and he was taking on different things that nature. When he goes back down, he finds a booth and table, or just a booth, and sits down. And at that point, pretty quickly after that, Roselia is up there asking if he wants something. And he just kind of shows her away like it's for hand. And he just kind of sits there. And he pulls out some kind of booklet and he lays out on the table and he starts writing stuff left-handed. Okay. With a medium-sized quill with a brown and white spotted feather on it. He starts writing stuff down in some kind of ancient kind of journal that's laying out there in front of him. He's choosing not to have a drink once he's went downstairs. At that point, they're all having their conversation, and you roll a perception check with disadvantage.
With disadvantage would be an 11 total.
Okay. You now are starting to realize, you don't see Sylowen. She must have read the thing. And you also don't see the tigress Felidae that was at the bar earlier. And you wonder if the words in that have already sent them on some kind of quest. Okay. But you're not certain.
Did you mean Sha-dae again?
Probably did. Yeah, I meant Sha-dae
Okay.
again.
Okay.
It's an S-worded name. It just happens. So yeah, so they're gone. Is there anything particular you're doing?
Look down to see if Oma's still there, and then wonder about that monk. He'd probably say that out loud. So he's, maybe like Dra-kin. Maybe we should send him to Tanima's temple.
Okay, it's interesting. If you want to go down and have a conversation with him, you perfectly can. So when we pick this up next time, guys, let's decide this. Let's decide that Miasha and Sha-dae are coming up with some kind of plan to go meet Asliar and find out what this request exactly is. Now, what you all don't know about is that me and Sean had to have like a real quick thing because he wasn't able to be here tonight, which is why it's a little late. And I read the letter to him already. And the first thing Sean said to me was, he goes, I want to have Miasha go with me because I know that she is distrusting of things too, and I trust that instinct in her. So I want her to know that I want to use that to our advantage to be safe. And I want to take Ignatius with me because I know he's wise and he'll see through the bullshit and lies of all this kind of stuff. That's the first thing Sean said. And I said, I'll see what I can do. Okay. So that's the steps behind the scenes to get us to here. Now, however much Sean wants to tell you about that letter is up to him. Okay. I'm just giving you the reaction he's having to it. Okay. Of course, Dayhon, you had no idea what was on the letter to be delivered. Okay. We could possibly bring Oma back into this if Alex is up to it. She's on the ship, so she's not that far away. We have Brahmas just won the fight. Tamyra is with Ignatius. Is there anything that Sylowen and Tamyra and Brahmas are wanting to do? And you can see that it's starting to get late. There's probably another hour left in this wake before people start thinning out and leaving. So is there anything particularly the rest of you, the three of you, would like to do before this moves on and concludes?
Yeah. Is anybody going to introduce us to Dayhon? Because I would be the only one he doesn't know, right?
Oh,
Yeah, to a degree. Like Brahmas really doesn't know him.
Oh, okay, okay. I
You
thought
know.
it sounded like he knew him a lot more, but okay.
No,
Never mind.
no,
First person is
Brahmas
T-
had a short period where he came on the lie long before they departed. Roselia's eye was docked on it.
Roselia's eyes named that small airship. Sometime, Danny, you might want to talk with Kara about some of the adventures that you and her have been on in general, or what you guys would know about each other.
Okay.
You know, that anytime is fine for that, just so we can do it. Like I say, I always suggest we're all in the same group chat, but you can always find her and send her messages through that on her own personal thing. Send her like an example of a couple things that you and her have been through together. Anything like that helps, so we kind of get where we need to be. Okay. I don't have anything else at this moment. The next step is this winding down, finding out what Sylowen and Miasha are up to, bringing Dayhon into this fold, and not Sylowen, but Sha-dae, yes. And it's because he's not here and I can't see him. And normally, if Sean's icon is here, I can look down and see names and shit and do it. But you know, it is what it is. So, with that, I think we'll go ahead and finish up tonight. I'll stop recording. We'll bullshit for 5 minutes, and we'll go about our merry way, and hopefully we'll get our names right in the future. Okay. So
I gotta let the dog in. She's going nuts.
right on, dude. It's all good. So, if there isn't anything else, we'll go ahead and conclude this. And we'll try to do this again on Wednesday. And if it doesn't work again, we got Sunday after that. So thanks everybody, and we'll see you next time. Okay.